need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio, or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
8:59, traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. And first to you, Cam.
We're closing out the morning still with that long stretch of residual delays on northbound I-15 due to that crash earlier this morning. Those are going from just about the Main Street exit in Lehigh proper all the way up through Point of the Mountain. And we're going to get a small patch of delays on northbound I-15 also through the South Interchange. We're looking at some fairly heavy delays if you're headed to eastbound on the Bangerter Highway as you come up to I-15 in Draper. That's also due to a crash. If you're coming up from Provo northbound right now, it's going to take you about 55 minutes to an hour. Andy?
Eastbound I-80 still has some scattered slowdowns between 7th East and Foothill Drive. We've got delays on the ramp from North 215 on to East 80 in Parleys. And then, as we've had most of the morning, some minor slowdowns through the roadwork at East Canyon. Then it clears from there all the way to Summit County. Traffic on South 15, only a little bit of delay left just south of the West Davis merge before you get to Parrish Lane in Centerville. Performance Automotive in Bountiful. Endless possibilities with 3 locations. Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, where excellence is standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com.
Today we'll get up to about 95, 96 degrees. We'll stay there in the mid to upper 90s for the next 7 days with a chance of rain every day, especially on Friday. Right now it's 81 degrees. Inside Sources coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, we're hearing from one of the bystanders who saved the life of a woman who lost her legs in a boating accident at Bear Lake. Dan Taylor tells KSL he had just taken a first aid class a few weeks before this, where he learned how to apply a tourniquet. And he said he ended up buying one to put in his van, the same one he and his family drove to the lakeside.
Maybe the term miracle gets thrown around a lot, but it was absolutely miraculous.
Taylor says he and his family were able to keep the woman stable for about 10 minutes until paramedics arrived about 10 minutes later. Taylor says he's just grateful he was in the right place at the right time. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Goldman Sachs top lawyer and former Obama White House General Counsel Kathy Rumler is set to face questions from the House Oversight Committee about her controversial relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. ABC's Peter Haralambous has the story.
Rumler never represented Epstein as an attorney, though documents released in the Epstein files suggest that she frequently provided him legal and public relations advice. In emails to Epstein, who she occasionally referred to as Uncle Jeffrey and compared to an older brother, Rumler thanked him for lavish gifts, got advice about her career, and lambasted lawyers representing Epstein's victims. Amid the renewed scrutiny over their relationship, Rumler announced plans earlier this year to step down as Goldman Sachs general counsel, though she's remained an advisor to the bank to this day. Peter Haralambous, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 202 points to 52,710. Coming up, we got warm weather still, just not as warm as it's been for the last few days. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from Big Wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
Most families get their financial advice in pieces. A financial advisor here, a CPA there, an estate attorney somewhere else. Everyone means well, but nobody's talking to each other, and those gaps can work against you. Trajan Wealth's family office brings wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning together, not as separate conversations, but as one coordinated system built around your life, your goals, and the people who matter most. Ours is a true family office, not one that refers you out because it's convenient. This kind of dedicated collaboration used to require a 7-figure net worth, but here's the game changer. Trajan kicked that door open. Trajan advisors are fiduciaries, always obligated, always honored to act in your best interest. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep. But first, take time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. With offices from Clearfield to St. George, Sound Sleep will help. Call Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672 today.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Let's hear from Cormac Bone.
Well, now we have delays residual on northbound I-15, and that starts in Lehigh near 2100 North. And then reaches up around the point of the mountain. You get a break at the very point, but then it's slow again approaching Bangerter Highway. Both directions of I-15 seeing some delays at the south interchange, and South 15 really clearing out, but still some scattered delays from the north interchange down to 600 North. Nuclear energy might be coming to our state. Learn more about nuclear energy and what it can mean for you. Visit energy.utah.gov/nuclear for more information. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be partly cloudy with a small chance of thunderstorms in central and southern Utah. That'll continue into later this week. Expect highs in the 90s, maybe a high of 95 expected today. Right now it's mostly cloudy and 81 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
This was a lot more than I anticipated. It was different, and I think different for most of us to think that this was the result, this was the outcry.
Maybe an understatement there, but leaders who oversaw the initial approval of the Stratos Data Center in Box Elder County yesterday were telling a room full of concerned residents that they still value public input, even though they didn't expect quite as much pushback as they've received so far.
So board member of MIDA, the Military Installation Development Authority, Mark Shepard, told KSL that despite what people have said, their process has been nothing but transparent and open. And I wonder for whom, Greg? What do you think?
Well, I think transparency and openness is there were probably some requirements that they were supposed to check the box, make sure that they notified people that they did this. I'm sure they did the bare minimum that they absolutely had to do, because I don't think. I don't blame them too much, but I don't think that anybody expected the pushback that they're getting right now.
That's also true, but I would say even the county commissioners, Box Elder County commissioners, did not have a heads up. And if they don't really know, how was it that open and that transparent? I mean, you called them the night before? I mean, what? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and I also think that data centers are a relative term. I mean, sometimes they're at the strip mall down the street,
right,
and sometimes they're 40,000 acres in your county,
right.
And it's like, hello. And I don't know that. Yeah. I think that the the expansiveness of this, the breadth of it, the expense of it, the public, what was required, just the energy input alone required this to have, should have suggested that this have much, much more, just notice and much more transparency, much more to the public and let everybody know what's going on. We wouldn't be having these conversations had they done that. We may have set the thing back further than it is, but boy, we wouldn't have had the pushback that we've got because people are now feeling, justifiably so, that this was just snuck up on them.
Yeah, and it plays into, I think, the lack of trust in in elected officials. So Mark Shepard, not only is he a member of MIDA, but he's the mayor of Clearfield as well, and he had more to say about this being a public process.
We have not circumvented the public input. We welcome the public input. We don't always hold, some of our things don't require a public hearing. But I will say from President Adams, even when it doesn't require public information or public input before we make a decision, he always asks for it. And I watch him time and time again say, okay, well, it's not a public hearing, but is there anybody here that wants to speak about it? We'd love to hear it. It's always been that open. And so we follow the processes because transparency is important to us. We don't want to circumvent the public's opinion. Our process may flow differently than it does from a municipality, but in the same way a municipality functions, we want that transparency. We want to hear from the constituents.
I
think that's the clear thing right there. Well, it may flow differently.
Right. I mean, you've got to think whether it's required or not. This was a project of such breadth that it required much more than what they did here. And I understand. I didn't realize he was not only the board member of MIDA, but the mayor of Clearfield. I mean, I know how small town politics works, and I appreciate it that people are willing to serve like that. I mean, what an incredible service. But man, the conflicts that you kind of have to weave in and out of all the time when you're doing those things, because there just aren't enough people to fill some of those positions. You don't have that along the Wasatch Front.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's the case with MIDA, or with the data center, but to something that we've talked about since the very beginning when this first came on the scene. What was that, maybe April?
Yeah.
So he was surprised with the amount of pushback on the data center project.
I think with any project, you anticipate some sort of public input, some concern. This was a lot more than I anticipated. It was different, and I think different for most of us to think that this was the result, this was the outcry. Because yes, we go into projects and I look at things and say, is this right? Is it wrong? What is our best path forward? And that's where I cast my vote. Does this make sense for Utah? Does it make sense for the local economy? Does it make sense for our military? And in every one of those, if I can say yes, then that's where my vote needs to go.
I wonder if he'd vote that way today. It sounds like he is. It sounds like he's still justifying what he did. But I think he was asking himself three questions. Is this best for Utah? Most Utahns don't think
without
so.
input from
right,
Utahns.
Yeah, you would think that if 75% of the state thinks it's not the best thing for Utah, that ought to be worth something.
I know. So it's interesting that we continue to have these discussions, and it feels like it's hard to find a middle ground, because I think we do need data centers to the extent that we're going to continue to use the internet, which certainly seems like something that we want to have stick around.
Sure.
But also, do we need something this massive on this scale? And to your point, and we've talked about this several times on the show too, this is technology that changes so rapidly that by the time it's finally built out, it could be obsolete.
That's what bothers me about the Brigham City project. It is so big, so massive, so expansive, and it's going to take so long to build that it's probably going to be partly obsolete by the time it's finished. I mean, I understand these smaller ones that are all over the place, but this one just is taking on a life of its own. And I understand national security, and by the way, he did comment that how this is related to national security.
You just look at our military and where things are in the world right now. Just look at how things are going and see the different conflicts and the potential conflicts. I remember sitting with a military official and asking him, what are our three biggest threats right now? And at that point he said, China, China, and China. And the technology wars are huge between the countries, and where do we go, and what kind of intelligence do we need? You look at our military jets and their ability to communicate with each other. Everything that's being developed right now, from drones up, is heavy data driven. They're big flying computers. We have to have that data for them. We have to have the AI for them, and thus we have to have storage.
Well, we need to have a better technology for them too, and maybe some way to do this storage so that we're not taking such a huge amount of land and resources.
I think that's some of what you're going to see change, right, as technology continues to get better. This is really it's interesting, and I can't remember what state it was in, but I heard this yesterday that there's a new data center. This is not in Utah. There's a new data center that's going in. They've already approved it, and it will need 10 power plants. 10 power plants to power the data center. That is wild.
Yeah, I guess it's the way it is, the way of the future. We need to start thinking more about alternate energy sources, such as nuclear, such as solar, such as wind, whatever else. But, if you're taking that much energy, I know national security is paramount. I know it is. But at what point is there a cost-benefit analysis to what we're doing here? I'm going to get crucified for that. But, it's not like, hey, let's just take a backseat to China. But is it really a matter of national security that the Chinese are going to take over the United States if we don't have the biggest data center in the world? I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
Well, what's interesting to me is I'm not hearing those arguments or seeing those arguments being made for data centers across the country. I'm not seeing that. Right? They're not saying, well, we have to have this in Texas that has hundreds of data centers. In fact, it was Texas that needed the 10 new power plants for one data center. I'm not seeing that from Virginia, where KSL investigative reporters went out to talk about, what did they call it? Data Center Alley. Right? I don't hear the arguments, we need these for national security. We need them for lots of stuff. But it seems unique that that's the argument being made in Utah. And maybe it's because it's the MITA board, the military board, that is really pushing this project forward.
I don't think it's too late, and I know we're out of time, to step back and to have public hearings, open everything up and say, here's what this project is, here's what it means, here's what it'll take. Just start from scratch and say, let's open the doors.
Yeah. New York State has a 1-year moratorium now on new data centers.
Yeah, it's another one of those shoot yourselves in the foot. These data centers coming up this way and sort of backdooring people.
All right. Well, coming up on Inside Sources, flooding and mud flows already proving to be a problem in areas affected by recent fires. We've got the latest and even more moisture headed to the region next.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan. Head up north where the air is clear for a refreshingly unexpected getaway. Start your day by singing yodelay-hoo at the top of your lungs on a canyon trail with views that go on for miles. Here's a secret. The National Forest is only 10 minutes from your hotel. What? I know. Next, rent horses or a side-by-side at Beaver Creek Lodge up Logan Canyon to spy colorful wildflowers and birds and stunningly beautiful scenery. After your day of adventure, wander downtown to check out our local shops selling everything from antiques to giant jigsaw puzzles to vintage clothing and goat's milk soap. Watch them hand-dip chocolates at Bluebird Candy, eat sourdough pizza, or drop into the family-friendly Prodigy Brew Pub where their deep-fried pickle spears are divine. I didn't even mention live theater performance like the Lyrics Laugh Out Loud Forever Plaid, or free concerts every weekday at noon in the Tabernacle, or community festivals, or... See what I'm saying? We are refreshingly Logan. Visit ExploreLogan.com, ExploreLogan.com.
Join the conversation. Do you have an idea or a topic you think we should talk about more on the show? Let us know. Send us an email at insidesources@ksl.com and tell us what you think we should cover. We're always looking for ideas and would love to keep you, our listeners, included in the chat.
As we celebrate America 250, KSL presents Utah Cornerstones, honoring the businesses that built our past and continue to shape our future.
Some businesses sell products, others become part of a community's legacy. Since 1948, Duke's Jewelers has been a trusted part of Springville and Utah families' most meaningful moments. That's 80 years of meaningful craftsmanship founded by J. Melvin Duke. The tradition continues today under fourth-generation owner Kimberly Narupe, who quite literally grew up in the family shop. She has a fresh perspective and deep respect for tradition. Guided by values of care, honesty, and exceptional craftsmanship, Duke's Jewelers creates pieces designed to last a lifetime because every design begins with a story. Since Duke's is a family-owned store with lower overhead, they can offer better diamonds and craftsmanship at a better price. Learn more about this Utah Cornerstone at dukesjewelers.com.
Utah Cornerstones on KSL News Radio.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
When American troops withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021, thousands of evacuees fled to the U.S. for protection. Many Americans welcomed their new neighbors.
For the last week, the governor tells me his office has been getting calls nonstop with Utahns wanting to help.
When we saw the pictures and the videos coming out of Afghanistan, we prayed to be able to help them.
But then, what happened? Listen to Stranger Becomes Neighbor, wherever you get your podcasts.
The new Inside Sources.
We told you about it on Monday, and almost immediately after, the flooding and the mud flows began. That sound comes from North Creek down near Beaver. The creek, running high and fast, was filled with mud and other debris left behind by the Cottonwood fire.
And we literally talked about this just this week, but as the week goes on, the chances for more storms and monsoonal moisture increases too. So while we may look okay here on the Wasatch Front, other parts of the state could still see some real danger.
So joining us in studio now is KSL meteorologist Devin Mashuli. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here.
Devin, I think it's interesting that the weather are top stories anymore. You guys must feel really popular these days.
Yeah, between record heat,
monsoonal
drought,
moisture,
flooding,
yes.
Wildfires.
Literally wildfires. And it's like interesting because they're all connected in some way. You know, drought equals wildfires, burn scars equals flash flooding. Well, the monsoon moisture coupled with that equals flash flooding. So it is kind of fascinating how it all works.
Yeah, let's talk about that because we've talked on this show a couple days about this monsoonal moisture that's coming in. Good news, bad news. I mean, certainly we need the cooling. We certainly need the water.
Yeah.
But it comes in I guess, in bigger portions than maybe we like.
Right, yeah. Sometimes it comes with a cost when you have a strong thunderstorm that leads to intense rainfall. And then when you couple that with a burn scar where that topsoil just gets, so burned and charred, and it like changes the chemical makeup of the soil, and it almost becomes water resistant. So then when you add rain and intense rain at that, it just kind of flows right off, and that's what leads to flash flooding or debris flows, like you said. And you typically with these storms, in order to get those things like flash flooding and a debris flow, you need to have a half inch of rain per hour. And with these storms, and especially because we're getting them each day in the same area, that certainly is a risk that we'll have to continue to watch.
So I didn't get any rain at all where I live in northern Utah County, but I saw online and then, of course, heard about Beaver that there was rain that did hit different parts of the state. Can you just tell us about the forecast generally for the state?
Yeah, so the forecast, especially for southern Utah, remains active in the higher elevations. So the Tusher Mountains are a really good area for storms to develop over, which is where the Cottonwood Fire is. So they have a chance yet again today to have thunderstorms over that area, and if they're intense enough, can lead to flash flooding and a debris field like we saw, or a debris flow like we saw yesterday. For the rest of the state today, isolated to scattered kind of through the central parts of the state. And again, all these storms bubble up over the mountains, then they kind of rotate and can go over adjacent areas. Other storm chances in the western Uintas, which could drift to areas like the Wasatch Back and then the Uinta Basin. So still for the Wasatch Front, fairly dry today. Our chances are kind of increasing to see some isolated storms roll over tomorrow and Friday. So that's something we'll be hoping for, because I know we all want rain here too, right?
Yeah, yes.
Devin, I learn something every time I talk to you, and I had no idea. But you mentioned that something happens to the makeup of the topsoil when it burns so that it becomes almost water resistant?
It's like extreme heat from the fire causes the soil to literally be chemically altered. And they say it develops a hydrophobic layer so that when it rains, it's soft, at least above that hydrophobic layer, where the water kind of it sits in that top layer, but it can never sit and sink further into the soil because of that hydrophobic layer, if that makes sense.
No,
So
it
then
makes a lot of sense.
So then it just runs, instead of actually soaking into the soil, it just runs rapidly. And then if you add a steeper terrain, the runoff is even greater.
So is that what happened yesterday down in Beaver? It was at that top level that just the whole thing just came down, and there were, I think I heard there were, like, besides the debris, is that like burned tree limbs? What constitutes a debris flow?
So a debris flow is fast moving water that is running off from a thunderstorm, a heavy thunderstorm, and it's essentially when that stream of water continues to run down the mountain through a burn scar, it just continues to pick up debris. So trees and other things like burnt vegetation and whatnot, leftover things that burned. And it literally is like commonly known as a flowing like cement, because the debris field can move so fast, and it's obviously carrying a lot of objects with it. So if you know that you could be potentially downstream of a debris flow, you need to make sure you have an escape route, because that is something that you can't survive. And it can even, take out parts of your home, because again, it's like flowing cement because of all the stuff it's carrying, and then you add, acceleration to it. So that is essentially what a debris flow is.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's like the worst out of like all the landslides that we can get.
Oh wow!
So let's talk about this pattern. How long we expect it, and if we can expect, unfortunately, maybe Devin, more flash flooding like we're talking about here.
Yes. So the pattern looks to stay progressive like this with the monsoonal moisture at least through early next week. It could even hang on through the rest of next week, but at least what data shows confidently right now, at least through Tuesday. So daily thunderstorms continuing to bubble up in the mountains. At least in the short term, we can see that more atmospheric moisture comes into southern Utah Thursday and Friday. So their flash flood threat is most elevated Thursday and Friday in the southern parts of the state. For the rest of us, we also have a flash flooding threat, through much of Utah, at least through, say, Monday, I believe the product goes out for. And it's just to say, like, hey, an isolated strong storm can certainly bring over an inch of rainfall very quickly. And of course, that can lead to flooding from steep terrain to, of course, landing on pavement, because, sometimes rain can't settle into pavement, right? So it really just, the chance is there for the entire state. It's just highest in, of course, those burn scar areas, the slot canyons across southern Utah Thursday and Friday. So hopefully that helped.
So you mentioned, you did mention southern Utah, and I'm not a hiker, but Greg is. Tell us about slot canyons, because I'm pretty sure that that's an area that can be pretty dangerous
Oh,
if there were
absolutely.
to be a flash flood?
Oh yes, because not only is it where these slot canyons are so connected sometimes, so the thunderstorm can be downstream of a slot canyon. So where you are, you don't think it's not storming, but the sky's kind of dark over there. But with the heavy rainfall, and that can quickly just send water all into the slot canyon, and you sometimes don't have enough time to get out in these narrow sometimes little slots. So especially tomorrow, that risk is elevated for the slot canyons. I mean, just to have thunderstorms in the area that could flood those places, normally dry washes, all those type of things in southern Utah, our recreational area. So we are advertising to not be in the slot canyons, especially the next couple of days with the higher threat in southern Utah, because again, it's life or death sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, most times with a flash flood and you're in a tricky spot like that. So the risk is definitely higher the next couple of days for those spots.
Let's talk about the silver lining, literally, to some of these clouds, and that is, will any of these water events help our water situation, our reservoirs, our drought? Anything? Do we expect to make a dent in that?
Especially for southern Utah mountains. I know the Climate Prediction Center with their drought outlook has shown that at the end of this season, so say as we head into early fall, they do expect drought to be completely removed in the southern mountains, and then for the rest of us to improve some way, shape, or form. Depending on how long this monsoon pattern can stick around, it's hopeful that at least everybody should get a drop of rain, say by the middle parts of next week. So I'm not saying everyone's going to have much better soil or see significant improvements in their lawn, but at least the outlook by the end of the season, and especially with the positive sign of keeping a monsoon for a good bit, there will be improvements and at least removal of drought in the southern mountains, like the higher elevations there, and hopefully some improvement for everyone else.
So you probably don't have the answer to this question. I know I don't. But what do you think about the chance of fireworks on the 24th, which is the end of next week?
Oh, okay. Probably not. Like they shouldn't. Just like we didn't for the 4th of July. It's, as we know up here, especially across northern Utah, we haven't had really any precipitation since. And it's just because we get, one thunderstorm that really helps kind of soak the top layer, still it's still so dry underneath. The leaves on the inside are still so dry for any of our other vegetation. So I would say.
All right. We'll see what the governor chooses.
I know. It's not up to me, but hey, be smart, right? That's all I can advertise.
Right.
Well, thanks for the education today, as
no
always. That was
problem.
fun. That was Devin Mashuli, a KSL meteorologist. When we come back, a man accused of killing 3 men with disabilities by leaving them in his car for several hours is in court today. We'll talk more about why I don't think that this is a death penalty case after the break.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Utah currently has 139 charter schools that serve 85,000 students across the state, and 12 more prospective charters are hoping to join them. Lincoln Fillmore with the State Charter School Board says prospective schools have submitted bids and will have to undergo a rigorous process of applications and questions from the board. The schools each focus on a different approach to learning, classical and liberal arts and Waldorf style, among others. Heat's not a big deal for many school districts across the Wasatch Front, but the Weber School District does have a few older buildings without air conditioning. District spokesperson Lane Findley says they've been doing the training in one of those buildings this week, and it gets, quote, pretty unbearable. He also says they are starting their school later in August in hopes of cooler temperatures on those first few days of class. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: as the fighting over the Strait of Hormuz continues between the U.S. and Iran, the president now backing off his newly announced plan to charge cargo ships traveling through the strait.
President Trump with that abrupt about-face, backing off plans to charge a 20% fee on cargo passing through the Strait of Hormuz just 24 hours after he announced this plan. The president changing his tune after oil prices spiked and Gulf allies called to complain. He's now canceling that 20% fee, saying allies will instead invest in the U.S., but offering no details.
That's ABC's Mary Bruce reporting. Your money at this moment: the Dow up 156 points to 52,664. Coming up, it's, as you just heard from Devin Mashuli, warm, but not a great chance of rain hitting the valleys. KSL weather's next, 9:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Buying a home can feel overwhelming, especially when your real estate agent recommends a lender you've never heard of. That's okay, but this is your mortgage. Before you lock anything in, get a second opinion. Loans by Rick has closed over 1,000 loans, often finding lower rates and closing costs. A quick second look could save you money. Call 801-809-SAVE. That's 801-809-SAVE. Or go to loansbyrick.com. Rick Urchenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106, Equal Opportunity Lenders. Buying a home? Before you choose your realtor's preferred lender, a bank, or a credit union, get a second opinion from Loans by Rick. With over 25 years of mortgage lending experience and access to more than 80 wholesale lenders, we can shop multiple loan programs to help find the financing that best fits your needs. Experience and finding ways to save you money? That's what we do. Call Loans by Rick today at 801-809-7283. That's 801-809-7283. Rick Urchenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106, Equal Opportunity Lenders.
Are you a local business tired of juggling deliveries, managing drivers, or sending valuable employees across town? There's a better way. Pigeon Ship. For more than 10 years, Pigeon Ship has provided fast, reliable, same-day and next-day delivery services for businesses throughout Utah. Whether you need a few deliveries a day or hundreds, Pigeon Ship has the network, technology, and experience to get it done on time. Auto parts, plumbing supplies, electrical components, pharmacy deliveries, and more. Utah's most successful businesses trust Pigeon Ship to keep their operations moving. Stop the stress of hiring drivers. Stop pulling employees away from their real jobs. And stop worrying about whether your deliveries will arrive on time. Join the thousands of businesses that rely on Pigeon Ship every day for dependable local delivery solutions. Visit pigeonship.com today to schedule a call and see how quickly Pigeon Ship can streamline your delivery operations. Pigeon Ship. Avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. That's pigeonship.com. Pigeonship.com.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2026 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. We just can't seem to shake those slowdowns in Lehigh, Cormac.
That's right, Andy. And now it's another crash. This is at 2100 North. They are blocking the HOV lane, that left lane and shoulder, and adding to those delays. And it starts right as you approach 2100 North and really reaches all the way around the point of the Mountain to Bangerter Highway. Also slow on North 15 at the South Interchange. We have a disabled vehicle as well, northbound I-15 at 90th South. They're in the right shoulder, so there's no delays right there, though. Today only, buy one ticket, get one free. Plan now to see Jenny Oaks Baker, Joy to the World, a sacred celebration in Salt Lake, Ogden, and Orem. Tickets at jennyoaksbaker.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today, partly cloudy with a small chance of thunderstorms in central and southern Utah. That'll continue into later this week. Expect a high of 95 today, a high of 98 tomorrow, 97 on Friday, so upper 90s going into the weekend. Right now, it's 82 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
As we mentioned before the break, the man accused of the death of 3 men with disabilities in February is in court this morning for a preliminary hearing. We've been using that phrase for a while here on KSL News Radio for a while. Lawyers are trying to convince the judge that there's enough evidence to go to trial. Prosecutors say that Isaiah Von Pulu left 3 of his Safe and Sound Services clients. Boy, that's a weird,
unfortunate.
Unfortunate designation. In his car for at least 3.5 hours, 3 men died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah.
Apparently, the car was
running
and the garage
in a
was
garage.
shut. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So as we were getting ready for the show today, we talked a little bit about why this probably won't be a death penalty case, even though 3 people did die. And so, Greg, as our KSL legal analyst with only 44 years of experience, I want to know why you think this way. So the state's looking at the death penalty, as we know, for Tyler Robinson. There was one person who was killed there. I know there were other aggravating circumstances, but break this down for us.
Okay, so it's not just probably not going to be a death penalty case. It's 100% not going to be a death penalty case.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Now, that's an interesting take that you have. This involved 3 deaths. Tyler Robinson involves 1 death. Of course, both men are presumed innocent. But we're looking at them in that context. You'd think, wow, this is a much worse case. But before we even get to the threshold of the aggravating facts, 3 deaths,
Sure.
you have to look at the homicide itself. And Utah law requires that the underlying crime has to be a murder, and this is a murder, and I'll explain in just a minute, but it has to be a knowing and intentional act. In other words, you have to have it in your mind. So if you look at the way the state is charging the Charlie Kirk homicide, they're saying that it was an intentional killing, that whoever did it
planned it,
a gunshot, that whatever. That's not something that's accident. This case, the way it's charged, the way you look at it, notwithstanding that the result was 3 times worse, that 3 people died, but that the individual who caused the death didn't do so with the intent to cause the death. He didn't go into his house thinking, boy, I'd sure like to kill somebody today. You know what I mean? I know that's weird, but if we look at that whole, we call it mens rea, which means the guilty mind, and you have to have a guilty mind at a certain level to receive certain consequences. So what the state is saying in this case is that even though it's a murder, they're saying that it's under what we call a depraved indifference standard. In other words, his conduct, allegedly, evidenced a depraved indifference to human life. Is it a depraved indifference to human life to leave 3 men in a running car while you go inside your house and they're in a garage? Probably, if that's the case. Now, he's saying the garage was open, the windows were down, it wasn't a big deal, but of course 3 people died, so it was a huge deal. But that there's no evidence that even a theory that the state would have that he wanted to kill 3 people that day.
So you're the legal expert, which is why I'm asking you these questions. So depraved indifference, I'm sure, carries certain penalties that come along with it. What would be something like negligent? Like, why wouldn't it be like a negligent homicide?
That's a great question, and that's probably what the defense attorneys are going to argue. They're probably going to say it isn't a depraved indifference. I mean, we even have a level in between depraved indifference and negligence. So we call it recklessness. That's what manslaughter is.
Okay.
So you look, and the code defines those 3 things. Depraved indifference almost is self-defining. Did you evidence a depraved indifference to human life? Negligence means that you didn't follow a standard of care that a normal person would have followed. Recklessness is that you grossly didn't follow the standard of care, and that you I'm getting into legalese. You took an unjustifiable risk that something was going to happen. And so when we go to trial on these cases, and I just did a manslaughter case, and the whole issue was it recklessness or was it negligence? And the whole trial was about that, and the jury decided it was negligence because at the end of the day, at the end of the trial, they get jury instruction, then they say, okay, you've heard all the facts. You heard everything that happened here. Like, let's say this, let's just focus on this case. He dropped 3 men, he stops at his house. He's got 3 disabled men in his car. He was working for some facility that helps, a state facility that helps people with disabilities. He goes in the house. He thinks he left the car running, and he thinks he left the garage door open, and people died. Now, when he walks out of his car, did he have reason to think that something bad could happen?
I mean,
yes, maybe so. And
I think he didn't think that. At least that's
right.
From
There's
what
an
he
aggravating factor here, at least in terms of the probable cause statement, and that is he'd been warned before. So that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And
so
that's for him.
Could be a pattern.
Yeah. So the state would say, okay, not only did you understand the risk, you you'd had this risk before. You'd been told to avoid the risk. So it was not like a one-off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, hey, wait a minute. I had no idea this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what aggravated it from a probably a manslaughter, or like you say, a negligent homicide to a murder, because they're saying, okay, based on your prior history and whatnot, you had reason to know what was going on here, and that really did evidence of depraved indifference to human life. Now, he went out, and I'm looking at the probable cause statement, and these are just allegations.
Right.
I'm not saying they're true, and he made some misleading information to the police about how long he was in the house, about what he did afterwards, he even indicated that one of them was still sort of awake and talking, and that something happened later on. I'm just looking at the probable cause statement. But, I mean, if he says he went in the house for half an hour and he was in for 3.5 hours, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You don't leave disabled people in your car for 3.5 hours. You know, and we had a case down in your part of the state a couple years ago, a woman who went in the store and her disabled son is in her car, and she's got a loaded gun under the seat, and he's a real inquisitive kid, and he grabs the gun and shoots himself and dies.
Yeah. I thought that was a gas station, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a gas. What did I say? Yeah.
Store, but
well,
the gas station store.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
She went in to
I
buy
know
a
that
drink.
case.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so anyway, she gets charged with a manslaughter also. Not that it was intentional. I mean, it was the last thing on her mind. It was the love of her life. It was her son.
Sure.
But was it reckless to leave a loaded gun in a car when you have a disabled kid?
Sure.
Maybe. The state thought so. I was involved in that case, so I can't talk too much about it. But, you know, I can understand the state taking a position. Yeah. The case was resolved under a lesser charge. But still, you look at that and you think, what's going through a person's... Because we really do look in America at the idea of the guilty mind, not just the guilty act. The same thing occurs. A death occurs. But what was going on in the person's mind at the time? You know, and if sometimes an accident occurs. Sometimes people die as a result of an accident, and that's not a crime because the law requires a guilty mind, some level of fault, negligence, recklessness, depraved indifference, intentional. We have different levels. Utah law, we recognize those, and then the jury decides what was going on in the person's mind at the time.
We're almost out of time, but I have to ask you this. It's a preliminary hearing. Is it going to take 5 days like Tyler Robinson just took?
My guess is 5 hours. so I mean, I think it started at 9, at least according to the docket. My guess is that they'll have a decision. The judge will have a decision before the end of business today. This one should not. Well, I gave my piece on Tyler Robinson. That case had no business going 5 days, but it did. This case has got some notoriety, or we wouldn't be talking about it. But it's not at the same level.
Right. Well, coming up next on Inside Sources, there are some interesting and exciting moves that impact Utah's Capitol Hill this morning. We're going to share this breaking news with you after the break.
Hey, when I got up this morning, I looked at my calendar, and it was a significant day, the 15th, because the 15th of each month, I had decided at the beginning of the year I would be looking at my weight, and I thought if I can just lose a pound a month, it would take me a while to get to my goal, and I had written down a weight that I wanted to get to today. Now, my point is this. I not only reached that weight, I shattered that weight. I got well beyond that weight, and it wasn't because of anything that I was doing at the time, because I was unable to lose weight through January, February, March, and April. So I contacted Soda Diet and Nutrition. I said, I can't even lose a pound a month. What can I do? They said, get on board with our program. Go with our diet. We will tell you how to do this, what to sign up for, what foods to eat, what products to take. You don't have to take pills. You don't have to do injections. We'll just have a dietitian help you out with this, a nutritionist. So I did. I lost over 4 pounds a week. I lost 30 pounds in 7 weeks. It was unbelievable. And so when I looked at my chart this morning, I thought, boy, I had some goals, but I shattered those goals. Thanks to Soda Diet Nutrition. SodaDietNutrition.com. Say it with me. Soda is state of the art.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good night's sleep.
Can we talk about something difficult to discuss? Are you going through a difficult financial time? You have equity in your home, but nobody can help? American Home Loans has created the Bridge Loan Program to use your equity regardless of your credit at this time. The Bridge Loan can be used to pay debts, collections, IRS liens, divorce settlements, or home improvements. Call at 801-262-2221. That's 262-2221. This loan creates a bridge between now and a much brighter future. After COVID, one of their clients had over $85,000 in credit cards. Their scores were too low to borrow on their home. American Home Loans was able to save them $2,000 a month. And after 8 months, they qualified for a conventional loan and lowered their payments. The consultation is free and confidential. Please call them and see what they can do for you. The number is 801-262-2221. It's 262-2221, or go to AmericanHomeLoans.com. AmericanHomeLoans.com. NMLS 245422, Equal Housing Lender.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest.
If he had dumped two, you would have thought maybe there's another one.
But now a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to Jamie Grissom. Binge Stolen Voices of Dole Valley wherever you get your podcasts and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the latest breaking news in the case.
Inside Sources.
Well, new this morning, a well-known name on Utah's Capitol Hill is making some moves into the nonprofit think tank world. State Senator Todd Weiler was just announced as the new president and CEO of the Sutherland Institute.
So, look, the Sutherland Institute is well known in the state for their research and their polling on some of the biggest issues facing Utah.
And so we thought it'd be interesting to talk to Todd himself, because I think the relationship between the two, Sutherland Institute and Todd Weiler, is great. They both have a great name around the state and a great name for our program. So, Todd, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Holly. I'm excited about this new role.
Yeah.
So my first question, are you stepping down from the Senate?
No, I'm not. You know, the good people of District 8 elected me for 4 years, and I plan on serving out that term.
Does that mean you're not going to run again then?
Well, I mean, I've never decided this early whether I'm going to run again, but we'll see how things go. I enjoy serving the legislature, and Sutherland believes in civic responsibilities and is giving me the license to represent my constituents, even if it might mean, voting in a way that they wouldn't want me to. They'd never ask me to vote, for Sutherland instead of my 125,000 constituents, but we'll play it by ear.
Yeah, I thought about that a bit myself, Todd, and I didn't, for my own perception, see a conflict in doing both, and so I would hope you'd consider running for Senate again. But I don't know are you going to be able to practice law full time the way you have been? That's
No, I'm phasing out, transitioning out of my law practice. I gave notice to my partners at Christensen and Jensen a couple of weeks ago, and as you know, Greg, you can't just, unless you get hit by a bus, you don't end your practice of law in one day. So I'm going to make sure all my clients safely transition and land in a good place. Transition to another attorney and land in a good place.
Yeah, Greg knows that. He's still trying to transition out. So
thanks for mentioning that, Todd.
So look, Todd, I wanted to ask you, Sutherland does a lot of stuff where I think they do advocacy work. How do you keep that role separate from your role as senator if they're advocating for certain things?
Yeah, Sutherland currently employs 2 lobbyists, and they'll lobby. I think it's similar to Howard Stevenson was a state senator and head of the Utah Taxpayers Association for 2 decades. And so I think I'll be following the precedent that he set. But, I plan on being a senator, and Sutherland will do what they do. And look at Sutherland's all about faith, family, and freedom. And that's not in any way opposed to what my constituents are interested in either. So.
Todd, Holly and I are very familiar with you and with the Sutherland Institute, but maybe our listeners are not. Tell us a little bit about the Sutherland Institute and what you think you bring to the table.
Yeah, so Sutherland is named after the only U.S. Supreme Court justice from Utah, George Sutherland, about 100 years ago. And it's a center-right think tank. Like you mentioned, we publish documents. We file amicus briefs with the U.S. Supreme Court. In fact, 2 of the amicus briefs we recently filed were both granted cert. So those are 2 cases that will be heard by the Supreme Court in its next session. We published a lot of papers. For instance, the Sutherland Institute came out pretty strongly against the SAVE Act, even though Mike Lee is the one pushing it. They basically said, this is not consistent with good federalism principles, which allows states to kind of take the lead on how they're going to conduct elections. And so they're very respectful. They played a big role, I think, in helping to land some of the election bills last session in a good place. And they do really good work. They're well respected, and mostly they just want to make our communities better for families and for individuals who believe in faith and freedom and want to practice both.
So, Senator Weiler, I'm looking at the press release that announces your new role, and one of the things that you want to focus on that I want to ask you about. In fact, there's 3 things, but there's one I want to ask you first, and that is that you want to deepen your Sutherland's engagement with the community. What does that look like?
Well, I think I'd like to increase our footprint. I'd like to have more of an impact on policy making and kind of be a leader in that. I'd like to help the legislature arrive at the right decisions and give them the research that they need to do that. We're looking at expanding potentially into some public interest litigation in the future. And we just want to keep Utah safe for families and make sure that we have communities where faith and freedom can thrive.
So you also say that you want to help develop the next generation of young leaders. So also, what does that look like? Are you going to start going into high schools, or what does that look like?
Probably more college campuses, Holly, than high schools per se. Although I think there are probably some opportunities. I'd like college students today to be able to define the difference between socialism and capitalism, and my guess is a lot of college students would struggle to do that. I think a lot of adults would struggle to do that.
I think a lot of legislators would struggle to do that. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Now you're getting a little bit too close.
Hey, I wanted to ask you this, Todd. Just on a personal level, you're at the top of your game right now as an attorney. What's in it for you to take this position? I mean, it's a very prestigious position, and I admire the heck out of you for doing it. But you're a star right now in the legal community.
Well, thanks, Greg. You're too kind. But I will tell you that this is kind of a dream opportunity for me. I was approached by the search committee, which was very flattering. This is not something I wasn't out looking for a different job. I really love the law firm. I love my clients and the people I practice. The people I practice with, Nate Alder, and Kara Porter, and others. So this was a difficult decision, but I just felt like, one thing, Greg, the idea of not having to have billable hours is very appealing to me.
Right. You're not going to miss that.
I felt like this was an opportunity for me to really, to take two things that I love, politics and the law, and kind of merge them into one job. So that was very appealing.
We can hear you, but not super well.
We lost our connection there. But that was a national search, and I think that it was very good for Utah that we had a local that could fill that role, because I think there were probably people from all over. And it's interesting, no surprise, of course, that Todd was recruited for this, and maybe a little bit of surprise that he took the bait, because I mean, good for him. I think I love the Sutherland Institute. I mean, it's a very conservative, known as a fairly conservative program, but they add a lot to our state, and they do a lot of things that I think help us understand politics and what's going on in the state, and sort of the bigger picture.
I think, as he pointed out, center right. So they're I think what I would consider traditional conservatives, right? So limited government closest to the people, the things that the Republican Party used to say that they believed in. So look, I think it's great. I hope if he can jump on in one more minute, we can talk to him a little bit more. But if not, I think one of the things that Todd brings is that if they're looking at expanding by continuing to work within the legal system, he is definitely an excellent choice there.
Oh, yeah. And I looked at their mission statement, which is really that governance is better on a local level, that churches, schools, communities, other things can do things that help a community almost better than the big picture. And Todd, I guess we're blowing a lot of smoke his direction, but it's really good that he's doing this. And I think it's a great call for the Sutherland Institute. I think it's a great gig for Todd Weiler. I'm trying to say both names at the same time, but I'm all in favor. This is good news for the state of Utah.
So the previous one was Rick Larson, and the one before that was Boyd Matheson, who also had been here at KSL. So there are people that we know, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
Okay, let's have some fun the next hour, because no matter how you want to talk about it, people have different feelings about daylight savings time. And this came out of the blue for me, but Congress is moving ahead with a proposal to make daylight savings times permanent. We want to know what you think about that. Text us at 57500 and let's discuss it. We've already had a few people chiming in on this one. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, a board member from MIDA says the proposed Stratos data center in Box Elder County could bring crucial military capabilities to Utah. But if a referendum to stop the data center goes through, he'll support the voice of the people.
MIDA board member Mark Shepard says the data center will bring huge opportunities to the military and Air Force Base. He didn't elaborate on what that might look like, but says it's all motivated by observed needs.
Everything that's being developed right now, from drones up, is heavy data-driven.
Shepard says he feels there is a misunderstanding on what MIDA is and was surprised by the pushback on the project, saying the approval process was public. He says the board will continue taking public comment and supports a proposed referendum. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Senators are grilling President Trump's pick to be the next U.S. Attorney General. Todd Blanche is also defending his actions while working at the Department of Justice.
I'm proud of what we've done to help American families see safer streets and to have a fair shot at the life they're working to build.
Democrats appear unified in opposition to his nomination. Former President Joe Biden plans to publish his memoir, Promise Me America. The book is set for release on November 17th, 2 days after the election, and will cover topics from the economy to Biden's decision to step aside and not seek re-election. Biden describes the book as a reflection on national challenges and his faith in America. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 118 points to 52,626. Coming up, it's not going to be as hot, and we may catch a few stray thunderstorms. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from big wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
It's amazing how much can change for the better in just 4 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. What if everything felt different 4 weeks from now? Well, that's what happens when you start your Soda diet and nutrition plan with a nutritionist from Soda. In 4 weeks, you could lose up to 25 pounds and never get it back because they'll teach you what to do and how to keep it off.
And here's one even better, Andy. What if those 4 weeks were free?
Oh, my. Now you're talking.
If you call 866-800-SODA, S-O-T-A, or just go online to sodadietandnutrition.com, mention KSL, you can get 4 weeks for free.
You'll work one-on-one with a degreed nutritionist who'll guide you every step of the way. You'll learn what works for your body. And here's the best part. No injections, no pills, no ongoing prescription cost.
Because at Soda, they believe that weight loss should be temporary, but results should be permanent, and they are.
So call 866-800-SODA to talk with a degreed nutritionist, or go to SOTA, S-O-T-A, dietandnutrition.com, because Amanda, Soda is, say it with me,
state of the art.
Jane is a small business owner.
That's right.
And tell them what that's like, Jane.
Yeah, well, it's like a roller coaster with a lot of ups and downs, and some days things can feel like they're flying off the rails.
Yep, it's a lot. But the Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business can help you manage it all. With the largest, fastest fiber-powered network designed for 100% reliability with business internet and wireless connect. Plus gig speeds with security and equipment included. All with a 5-year price lock.
Nice. So everything stays on track.
Exactly. The Total Solutions Advantage. Get started for just $60 a month for 12 months when you add wireless connect to a qualifying internet package. No one does business like Comcast Business.
Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. New customers only. 1-year agreement, paperless billing, and automatic payments with bank account required. $60 offer requires 300 meg internet, security edge, and additional qualifying service. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. Here's Cormac Bone.
We still have a crash on northbound I-15 in Lehigh in the left shoulder now, and this is at 2100 North. There's no delays there. Where it does slow down is as you come down the hill from the point of the mountain and approach Bangerter Highway. And then getting out of Salt Lake County into Davis County, also some delays on northbound I-15 from the north interchange up to about 2600 North in Woods Cross. The Good Feet store, supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, Salt Lake City should see a high today of 95 degrees, and there'll be thunderstorms, but those will mostly be in southern and central Utah. Those storms move north, though, as the week goes on. Right now, it's 82 degrees and mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Yep, here comes the sun, all right. That was George Harrison. I got to get the Okay, so the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bipartisan bill to officially move the country into permanent daylight saving time. Now, it's just past the House right now, but it's a big step.
Well, sure it is. And what's funny, one of the things that's funny is that right after the vote was counted, the Speaker Pro Tem went to the microphone and played the first few measures of Here Comes the Sun over the speaker.
Good for him.
I know,
Yeah.
see?
Can't have
Great
enough
minds.
George Harrison, rest his soul. But so what I was going to say is don't change your sleep schedule yet. It still has to go to the Senate. But I think this is interesting, and I don't know. We sort of threw it out there before the show started today to get some of our listeners' take on that. But I guess people have different views on it. It's not something we're just talking about out of the blue.
Right.
It's been talked about in this state before. It's been talked about in other states before. I didn't realize it was ever on the national radar.
Yeah.
But apparently it was, and it's bipartisan, and it passed by a fairly significant margin.
It did. And one of the things that's interesting, as you've said, this is not the first time. So even Representative Malloy, when she was first in, she was working on a bill to make daylight saving time permanent. And it's been in Utah, we've seen several different versions. One was, let's go to daylight saving time and make it permanent, but that requires literally an act of Congress. And then the other one was, more recently, okay, well, let's just stay on standard time then, as long as we can get a few states around us to stay on that same time. Arizona already does. And the other state that does that is Hawaii. They're the only ones that don't change time in the spring and the fall. But they're really strong opinions. So the Associated Press did a survey just last year, actually. They found 56% of adults wanted to stay on daylight saving time year-round. They found only 12% wanted to switch back and forth like we already do, and the rest wanted to stay on standard time and just keep it that way. So when I was in the House, the Utah House 15 years ago, we were talking about it then. And there was literally somebody who said to me, oh, you want to stay on daylight saving time? You want kids to die.
Yeah, because in the winter, you've got darker going to school hours.
Yeah, it's darker going to school.
Right.
So anyway, we did ask, and we have a texter right now who says, I'd rather have standard time all year round. But on our Facebook page, we've got a lot of people who've weighed in. And over on the Senate side, I'll just say this. So yes, it passed the House. Not likely to pass the Senate. In fact, they don't even know. No, not likely at all. In fact, there are some people that are like Tom Cotton. He's like, absolutely not in a million years am I going to vote for a bill like this. And he wants to gum up the works and not even have it come to a vote at all.
Well, does the Senate need to pass it by more than 50-1? I mean,
no. On this one, probably
60.
Yeah, they probably need 60.
But I don't know. They did so well in the House. It's almost like 3/4.
I know. And it's like, but one of the things, too, even one of the representatives who voted for the bill is like, yeah, I'm a fan of this, but really, is this how we're spending our time? There's some really big, important issues, and I don't feel like this rises to the level of a big, important issue.
Well, I don't think it needs a week of debate, but maybe an hour, and let's move on with it. I'm in the 12%.
You like the change?
I like it the way it is. I mean, I don't like the day or two when you're kind of goofy because your clock's messed up. But I think it makes sense summer and winter. I like it. We actually changed it not long ago to give us a few more weeks of daylight savings because of Halloween.
Right.
It was getting too dark at Halloween.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we did do that. That's been a few years. Yeah. So we have less time on standard time than we do on daylight saving time. We have another texter who says about the daylight saving bill, I say hallelujah.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you some of the comments that we have on Facebook. So one person, Mystique, says this: let's do this in the fall when we fall back, get an extra hour of sleep, and then just not spring forward. So that's the stay on standard time. Right. Alyssa says, people make a bigger deal than necessary about the time change. It's the same time change traveling between the West Coast and Utah. You adapt pretty easily. It's not like we're changing by 8 hours. Becky says, well, I'm in Arizona, so nothing changes for me. I love that we don't have to change the clocks. So
I'll tell you one thing I do notice just in my professional career. People will call you from different states and say, hey, let's plan a call. And they'll say, I'll call you at 10 a.m. MST, which to me means Mountain Standard Time.
Right.
Now, we're on Mountain Daylight Time, so I have to tell them, okay, it's 10:11 right now.
Yeah.
Is that really when you? And people also, I'm getting off topic a little bit here, don't know that we in the mountain zone have our own time zone. They're thinking it goes from, East Coast to Central to West Coast. We got this little mountain zone in the middle here that people forget about.
Oh, gosh. So
it'll just be nice to have it more standardized is what I guess my point is.
So Craig says, quit catering to the highly funded golf lobby. Let's quit changing clocks, but leave on standard. And Marissa, right after him, says, yes, but I only want daylight saving time. Why in the world would we change our time to something we only live with for 4 months out of the year? Nola says, I just need it to stop changing.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it's
so
interesting.
we go from the beginning of November to March. So it's closer to 5, but still.
As I understand it, the House bill has a provision for states to opt out.
They can.
So it's
Stop
just
confusing us.
That's
one of the things, right? And Susan says this. She says, I would love to never change clock times again. Both time changes cause trauma for children and adults and vehicles and other accidents. But every election cycle, we spend so much time on this. There are more important issues. All these attempts to change daylight saving are simply distractions. And Sylvia says, people sure like to whine.
Well, I think it's an interesting subject just because we deal with it every year or twice a year.
We do, and there are concerns. Look, this happened in the 1970s that they said, okay, we're just going to stay on daylight saving time. So, of course, do you remember the history? Well, you weren't alive, but it had to do with World War II and trying to conserve energy, and so. And originally it came about because of farmers, right? You're like, okay, well, you can farm where you still have some daylight.
Right.
Well, in the 1970s, during the energy crunch, they said, okay, we're going to try this. They didn't say try, but we're going to do this where we stay on daylight saving time because that gives us more time where you don't need to use a lot of power in your house at the end of the day. But they found people didn't like it. There was, in Florida, there were several kids who were hit and killed by cars on their way to school, which unfortunately happens anyway, whether it's daylight saving time or standard time. But they said, okay, fine, we're going back off and we're going to the switch. And so it's like we've tried this before and there's lots of strong opinions, but the strong opinions don't agree.
Yeah, again, I'm in that third 12%er that like it ain't broken. Let's keep it the way it is. But apparently, most Americans think it is broken.
They want to pick one way or the other. And even just on the Facebook comments and our texters, we see a split. So we have 3 more texts. One says daylight savings is awesome, and the other 2 say stay on standard time. So we just that's why I don't think it will pass, because people are like, yes, I agree. We don't want to change time. You're part of the 12%, but they can't agree on what time to stay on.
Right. Yeah. I
maybe we should split the difference.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe we should change the clocks by a half an hour.
Oh.
Like Newfoundland.
Change time.
It's so funny. There's even one place where it changes by 15 minutes. It's weird. Okay, up next on Inside Sources, President Trump's new pick to lead the Department of Justice is facing some tough questions before a Senate committee this morning. I want to get our legal analyst thoughts on Todd Blanche as Attorney General after the break.
Kitchen and bath transformations start with AMC Building Materials. AMC Building Materials is a large kitchen cabinet and countertop supplier serving both wholesale and retail customers. AMC offers factory direct pricing on all interior remodeling materials, giving you exceptional value without sacrificing quality. Most standard items are available for quick payment and pickup right away. AMC Building Materials provides professional service, free design, and free on-site measurements, along with expert installation by top AMC professionals. From bold kitchen designs to beautiful functional bathrooms, AMC delivers outstanding value with styles you'll love. And best of all, most projects can be completed within just 10 days. Come experience beauty you can see, quality you can feel, and service you can trust. Get directions to the new AMC Building Materials showroom at 3678 South 700 West today and schedule your free estimate. Visit amckitchenslc.org. That's amckitchenslc.org.
We're here in studio with Russell Fawcett, co-founder of the Stern team of Omada Real Estate. Russell, looking at the headlines, you'd think the housing market has come to a crawl. Is that what you're actually seeing here in Utah?
So it definitely has slowed. So it slowed down a lot. We actually, last week, we did see inventory actually creep up. kind of normal for July. A lot of people are on vacation, so they're not necessarily moving, but it's slowed down, but people are definitely still, you have, life, people get married, people, downsize, different reasons. And so homes are still selling, but it's slower for sure.
So I've got a daughter and a stepdaughter who are both looking at houses. They both have kids, my grandkids, Russell, and what they're saying is this is a time to move because they want to get established for when school starts.
Yep.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we do typically see kind of that before the school rush on closings. And so right now, usually kind of over the next 30 days, we see a pickup, and then we will see it start to drop off come third and fourth quarters.
Okay.
So how have higher interest rates changed consumer decision making? So timelines, negotiation strategy, it's got to be impacting that.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of people, it's a needs-based move. So as opposed to kind of timing the market or being like, hey, now's a great time because of the price, now it is needs-based. And buyers are going to be a lot more picky because inventory is up, so they have more choices. But more than that, the cost of buying is such that they want to make sure that they go in and they buy a home that's not going to be a money pit. And so it's just, I would say buyers are a lot more cautious than they were before.
We've only got about 15 seconds, but I see interest rates in the low sixes. To me, that doesn't seem all that bad. Is that a rate that we're seeing?
We're old.
Maybe so.
Welcome to normal, right? We're back in the sixes, and that's where we've been, and kind of looks like where we'll stay for a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in the next break, we're going to talk more about interest rates and consumer confidence and what the balance is. So we're going to chat with Russell in about 15 minutes. Thanks, Russell.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
The ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
A place where survival,
it's dark now, I have nothing,
is never certain. In 2011, an Australian hiker vanished.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
The mountains have decided to keep him.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts.
And expanded Inside Sources.
So this morning, acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche faced a slew of tough questions from senators. He's moving through the process to become the full, legit Attorney General. And among the questions this morning, which I thought was interesting, were things about FBI Director Kash Patel, the president's pardons of those involved with the January 6th riots, and whether or not the president can serve a third term.
Yeah, and I think the most important question, is something he's already been dealt with and he's having to deal with, and that is that he was the president's personal lawyer and was, since he's been the acting attorney general, involved in a couple of questionable practices at the Department of Justice over the last year and a half, including approving this $1.8 billion fund to help people that the administration felt were the victims of Department of Justice overreach.
So, Greg, do you think he'll be confirmed? It's pretty hostile, feels like.
I think he will. The Democrats are not going to vote for him. And the Republicans bluster, and there's always a couple of, I don't know, I'm holding out, I don't think I can do this, I don't know what I'll do. But they seem to come to the table every time. So I think he'll be confirmed.
Well, we have just a little bit of sound from his opening remarks.
17 months ago, I sat at this table as the nominee to be the Deputy Attorney General, and I told you that serving in the Department of Justice was my American dream. Since then, I have helped lead it, first as deputy and now as acting attorney general. And I'm here today to earn your trust once more.
I'll tell you what he doesn't face is a predecessor who was knocking it out of the charts. I mean, Pam Bondi was, let's face it,
problematic,
terrible, and so he can't, in my opinion, do much worse. So I think he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer's lawyer. He certainly has had his share. He worked for the Southern District of New York or Eastern District of New York as a prosecutor. That's the top prosecuting office in the country, maybe the world. So he's certainly paid his dues as a prosecutor. He's done defense work. He was Trump's personal lawyer, and he's. I think the question for me personally was: is he too tied to the president to be independent?
He was asked, this is by Senator Kennedy, are you and President Trump friends? And he said, I'm his lawyer. And then he says, oh, was his lawyer, right? Yeah. I mean, so there are. I would say that this hearing today has been, I think, pretty pointed. I guess that's the way to say that. And what's one of the things that's interesting to me is that he wants to focus on restoring public trust, but I'm not sure he's done that.
Yeah, here's what he said.
In recent years, we watched the Justice Department turned against many of you and a former president, and it damaged the public's faith in justice. We are fixing that.
Well, the DOJ is going after a former president right now. They're trying to do stuff with Biden. So I think he meant President Trump, but I think the DOJ has clearly been weaponized under the current administration.
And one thing that he did very well as a criminal defense lawyer is he stalled the Trump federal cases. I mean, they say justice delayed is justice denied. And I mean, I agree with that. I'm a defense attorney. I've been guilty of myself of stalling cases, but he was masterful in getting those cases stalled to the point where Trump became president. The Department of Justice has a policy. They don't indict, they don't charge sitting presidents. And so those cases were dismissed, not because there was a finding of guilt or innocence, which would have been interesting. Let's face it. People talk about the case Trump was convicted of. That was a state case. The two federal cases were stalled masterfully by this man. And, that's what his job was. You can like it or not. That's what people don't like about lawyers, but he did what his client asked him to do.
Well, as of yesterday, speaking of the one case where the president was indicted, he finally paid out $5.6 million to E. Jean Carroll. Okay, so one of the things that he said about the Capitol riots, because that was one of the things they asked about, he said that they were generous. The pardons on the Capitol riots were generous. He added that he did not celebrate the pardons. And then he said, Chris Coons asked him, would you say you're proud of President Trump's decision to pardon individuals who assaulted law enforcement? And he said, past comments that I've made have been misconstrued. I wasn't celebrating it. I was just stating a fact, which is that the January 6th defendants did receive a very generous pardon.
Yeah, just to clarify something you mentioned, the E. Jean Carroll case was a civil case that Trump was found liable for. The criminal case that he was convicted of.
Okay.
No, and it was the hush case. And
for Stormy?
Right. And Blanche did a good job of cross-examining who was Trump's personal lawyer, that Cohen.
James.
He did a very good job of cross. Of course, the result was guilty, but boy, he had that man squirming.
One thing I absolutely agree with is he does say Donald Trump is not eligible for another term. So he was asked that. Oh, but he did have to qualify it, though. So he was asked point blank, is President Trump, just as a simple matter of constitutional law, eligible to run for another term as president in 2028? And he said, I don't believe he is. No.
Ooh, so you got to be a little better than that. They don't hire attorneys to say I don't believe. I mean, that seems like a pretty easy one.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then he was questioned about FBI director, which is interesting, right?
Kash Patel.
Kash Patel. So Senator Whitehouse asked him if he would put up with FBI Director Kash Patel. And he said, so actually the question was, how long do you intend to put up with that Kash Patel character? And then listed out a whole long list of accusations against the FBI director. And he said, that's an extraordinarily obnoxious question, Senator.
Well, good for him. I mean, at some point, I look at these questions from the Democrats and the Republicans, and it's just blustering. I mean, they get up there and say, you have to ask yourself, when are we going to get to the question? It's all speeches. It's all speeches. That's what I don't like about these confirmation hearings. You look at it right now, I don't even know who's asking the question, but somebody's just blustering there, and Blanche is sitting there going, okay.
There's the GOP holdout, Tom Tillis.
Yeah, Tom Tillis, right? He's going after him. And it may be a yes or no question. Like, come on, let's get to it. Let's get to the chase and ask the questions that make sense. But one thing that senators don't do, like criminal defense attorneys do, is know how to ask a question, know how to ask a leading question, know how to ask something that I'm serious.
Yeah.
And some of them are lawyers, but you're just listening to them going, don't you know how to ask a question?
Well, it's not a trial, right? Which is part of, I think, what's happening. So he's not the only confirmation hearing it's not the only confirmation hearing happening on the Hill today. So there's also the Senate Intelligence Committee. They're questioning Jay Clayton to become the new director of national intelligence. It is really not going well for him. And then Erica Schwartz will testify for the CDC director role. But let me just give you an example about Clayton. And so Senator King says this to Jay Clayton. Is there a problem with voter fraud in this country? Clayton says, I don't think we can say. King, we've had hundreds of analyses. Clayton, I would love for the American people to have incredible confidence in the integrity of our elections. Senator King, I would too. And I would appreciate it if this administration would cease undermining that confidence.
Ouch.
I mean, and there was a lot more. There were some where
that's
he
not a
refused
question
to answer.
Right.
I get what
That's
you're
just a
saying.
statement.
I get what you're saying, and yet at the same time, he talks about like he can't remember, and he won't answer a direct question about whether he knew that Tulsi Gabbard was present in Georgia when they did the raid there on the elections offices. Right? He just refused to answer. He wouldn't even open his mouth.
Yeah, and so those are things you just have to answer. You don't have to worry about, well, I guess you do have to worry about what your commander-in-chief is going to say or think about what you say, but holding the line and answering questions for a confirmation should not be inconsistent, and unfortunately they are. I'm even old Blanche is having to deal with all these pardons, the January 6th thing, and his involvement in that. And
the other thing Blanche has to answer for is this IRS settlement thing.
Right.
They're really pushing him hard on that one because, of course, the federal judge that just ruled on that case.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that judge did not hold back, and so he has to face that as well.
Well, coming up on Inside Sources, tough conversations with kids, not just congressional appointees. We're continuing our week-long conversation on how parents can talk about sensitive issues with their children. After the break, we'll dive into bullying and the role parents play in preventing it. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Heat is not a big deal for many school districts across the Wasatch Front, but the Weber School District has a few older buildings without air conditioning. District spokesperson Lane Findley says they've been doing training in one of those buildings this week, and it gets pretty unbearable. He says they are also starting their school year later in August in hopes of cooler temperatures for the first few days of class. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump is backing off his plan to charge cargo ships a toll to travel through the Strait of Hormuz.
President Trump with that abrupt about-face, backing off plans to charge a 20% fee on cargo passing through the Strait of Hormuz just 24 hours after he announced this plan. The president changing his tune after oil prices spiked and Gulf allies called to complain. He's now canceling that 20% fee, saying allies will instead invest in the U.S., but offering no details.
ABC's Mary Bruce reporting from the White House. Utah currently has 139 charter schools that serve 85,000 students across the state, and 12 more prospective charters are hoping to join them. Lincoln Fillmore with the State Charter School Board says prospective schools have submitted bids and will have to undergo a rigorous process of applications and questions from the board. The schools each focus on a different approach to learning, classical and liberal arts and Waldorf style, among others. Your money at this moment, the Dow is now down. After being in the positive for most of the morning, it's now down 40 points to 52,468. Coming up, we got highs in the mid-90s today. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
We're joined in studio by Russell Fawcett, the co-founder of the Stern team of Amada Real Estate. And Russell, you often say that the interest rate is really a reflection of consumer confidence. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we give a lot of attention to what the interest rate is. But it's not like anybody goes in and sets kind of the interest rate of like, oh, we're going to set this and then the world happens. It's the world happens and then they adjust the interest rate. And so when consumer confidence is good, you know, more people are out there buying, but the spread, so you look at the 10-year yield, that spread gets bigger. And what that means is banks can loan out that money for a little bit less because they have confidence as well. When you have wars and things like that, that's when it's like, crazy, right? And those spreads get smaller, and that's when you see the interest rate actually go up.
So besides interest rates, what should homeowners and buyers pay attention to if they want to look at how the market's headed and what's good and what's bad?
Yeah. What I actually say is they need to pay attention to what's going on in their life and make decisions based around that, because timing the market is almost impossible, especially when right now, I mean, someone, you know, the president can go on and say something and the interest rate will jump. Right. And so it really is of like, we need to understand what their budget is so that when kind of those stars align of pricing and mortgage, that they are ready to pull the trigger versus waiting for like any certain interest rate. It's like, no, once you can afford it, let's go ahead and move on, because you could be waiting years to try to time it.
So is there's got to be then some balance between finding the perfect time. Are you of the opinion that perfect can be the enemy of good?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Because I look at a lot of people that didn't want to jump in when everything was crazy during COVID. Well, we'll wait till it slows down, and then all of a sudden prices went up, you know, $100,000. Or if you're trying to time that 1% or 0.25%, like I would say right now, go in and negotiate, because buyers are in a strong position. And as a seller, though, we're still at all-time highs, and I think we'll talk about that later. But, I mean, prices are still great for sellers as well.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk to you about later. We're going to be back with Russell in about 15 minutes talking about selling in today's market. Stay with us.
Amanda, every business needs IT help. And sometimes you've got that guy who already works for your company who knows how to do this stuff, but sometimes you don't. Or the guy who knows the IT stuff, that's not his actual job.
Right. So Les Olson IT they can be your 24/7 help desk. They can support your existing help desk. They can do advanced cybersecurity protection. Maybe just come and take a look. Are you subject to phishing or ransomware or other things? What are the cyber threats you're facing?
And you've got to make sure that your data is secure. So both cloud and data backup solutions, they can help you with that. Plus, everybody's got to use a computer. That's where hardware comes in, infrastructure support. You don't have to know all this stuff because Les Olson IT knows it.
And most of the time, they can help you fix whatever's going wrong remotely, just off your computer. Plus, of course, they have copiers and printers. They always will at the very best price.
Les Olson IT is your trusted local IT partner. They've been in business for 70 years, and they've got 9 locations from Logan to Las Vegas.
Find out more at lesolson.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Both our crashes on I-15 coming in from Utah County to Salt Lake County have cleared off the road, so there's actually no delays on I-15 between Ogden and Provo, but we do have a crash. This is at the South Interchange coming on southbound I-15. They are completely off the road, so again, not causing delays, but do be careful going through that area as they work to clear that up. Today only, buy one ticket, get one free. Plan now to see Jenny Oaks Baker's Joy to the World, a sacred celebration in Salt Lake, Ogden, and Orem. Tickets at jennyoaksbaker.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, 95 today with a slight chance for a thunderstorm, mostly in the mountains. The chances for rain goes up as we head towards the weekend. High of 95 today, 98 tomorrow, 97 on Friday. Right now it's 82 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So we are smack dab in the middle of July, but back to school season isn't that far away. Before you know it, your kids are going to be out of the house for most of the day.
I think that it's cooling off to the mid 90s, and so it must feel like back to school season. But look, one of the things that we wanted to talk about is the tough conversations parents, maybe even grandparents, should have with your kids. So yesterday we focused on the dangers of technology, AI, chatbots, and even some sextortion, and how parents can talk to their kids about these kinds of things. If you've missed it, you can find it on the Inside Sources podcast at kslpodcast.com or wherever you listen.
And today we want to shift gears to talk about something that our schools have actually taken a very proactive approach in, and maybe parents can too, and that's the idea of bullying. And we want to talk about what parents can do and to be involved in stopping and preventing bullying.
So we have with us Dr. Ryan Bartlett, Director of Strategic Communication for the Utah State Board of Education. And Dr. Bartlett, I have so many questions. Thanks for joining us, first of all.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I have questions that come in at least from 3 different perspectives, and we also have had texters ask questions. So one is, I want to talk about kids who are being bullied. I want to talk about kids who witness bullying, and then I want to talk about the kids who are the bullies and what parents can do there. So let's start with the first one. What can parents do to have conversations with their kids if their child is being bullied? What kind of questions do they need to ask to even find that out?
Yeah, so sometimes a student or a child isn't going to go directly to their parents and tell them this is happening to me in school because they're afraid of retribution, or they might feel embarrassed to get parents involved. But it is important, and parents can look for signs, like if your child is acting hesitant to go to school or reluctant to go to school, or they're more withdrawn, or you overhear them complaining or talking about situations that are happening. Those are some of the things that you can look out for as a parent. And also we encourage parents to ask your children, frankly, how are things going in school, not just with your schoolwork, but also socially. How are your interactions going with your peers? And that's one way that can get brought up.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
Sorry, Greg, but with bullying, I think sometimes we think bullying is only physical, like you're being punched or you're being, shoved into a locker or given a swirly in the bathroom. Can you expand for us the definition of bullying? Because I think it's more than just physical.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, because a lot of people wonder also where that line crosses from just the everyday social friction that people have into actual harm and bullying. And we look at a framework that it's called the PRI framework, and bullying typically meets these 3 things, where the first one is that there's a power imbalance. So maybe the person doing the bullying is older, they have a larger group with them, a larger social circle, or they're physically larger, or even they have information that might embarrass or harm somebody else. In today's social media age, it's common to have photos or information that somebody doesn't intend to have go public that can be used kind of in a threatening way. And then, so that's the P, is the power imbalance. The R is repeated over time. Like I mentioned, students will have arguments. They'll say something they regret later. And the difference here is normally a student will want to stop doing that and make amends and tell the person that they're sorry who they hurt, and the negative behavior stops. But with bullying, it's something that's repeated over time. And something that happens, and that's one of the hallmarks here. And then the I is intent to cause harm. When you get in those arguments and have that everyday social friction, you're not intending to harm somebody else or hurt them. But when it comes to bullying, you are intending to cause them distress, whether that's physical harm, emotional harm. And then you mentioned it's not all stuffing people in lockers or physically hurting them. And that's true. There's also cyberbullying. In the age of social media, that's something that's becoming more prominent, unfortunately. And we're seeing bullying take place through social media threats or degrading somebody else using social media, putting up images, unflattering images or text, or lying about them online are all things that can also be forms of bullying.
Dr. Bartlett, when I went to high school, there were 2 people at our school that were just brutally bullied. And I've always looked back on that and felt that I could have done something about it. I should have done. I've always felt horrible about that. What can you tell? And maybe just staying out of it was the best approach. But what can you tell parents who have kids who see bullying about how to respond to it?
So luckily today, the infrastructure is much better than it was, even back when I was going to school. The social media is or the online technology is kind of a double-edged sword, because where it can be used to harm people, it can also be used to help people. And one of the things that students and parents have access to now is an app. One of the apps that we use is called SafeUT, and that's where you can freely and anonymously report an incident if you see something happening. If you know that one of your friends or your peers at school is being bullied, or another child, you can use that app to go in and report that, and then that will be followed up on. And we also encourage people to, Utah's a very locally run state where things take place at the local level, and we encourage parents or other students who know that something is going on to go to your school administrators, your principal, your teacher, and let them know about this. Utah has policies in place where retribution cannot occur. So a student cannot be, if there's a whistleblower or a student who reports this, there are guidelines in place that retribution cannot take place against that student for doing so.
So my next question is about the kids who are bullies. So I, as a parent, don't want my child to become a bully. I don't even know how to solicit that information necessarily. Like, are you picking on your friends? Like, I don't know how to go about that conversation, but I would be very concerned about that as well.
Yeah, that's something that's difficult to know, because you can act like one person in front of your parents and then totally. And again, this comes down to frank discussions. And I know a lot of people tend to, in some cases, have blinders on when it comes to that. My child would never do that. And in most cases, that's true. Like most people aren't going out and trying to harm their classmates and their peer group. But I would again encourage parents to have those frank discussions. Let their children know the importance of being good students, and that doesn't just mean getting good grades. It means being kind to the people around them, to their classmates, and letting them know that if you are hurting somebody else, that's behavior that needs to stop. And also that's something that if you are harming other students, that's something that can impact them for the rest of their lives. And often when it's put into that perspective, you're causing situations or engaging in behavior that can leave a lasting impression on somebody else. Oftentimes that's something that will cause them to pause and think about their behavior and try to modify that.
Yeah, I think empathy and teaching that would be very helpful. I do worry about parents who maybe not necessarily encourage it, but they want their kid to be the tough one. They want their kid to be the leader of the pack, and maybe putting them in a position where they're bullying when they're almost seemingly encouraging that. So I do think it's helpful, and I appreciate what you said. If you're a parent and another parent comes to you and says, hey, your kid is bullying mine, you can have a conversation with your own child about that, can't you?
Yeah, you can. And I would encourage parents who are in that situation, and that does happen, to take that seriously. Once again, I know we have this gut instinct to think our child would not do that. But if another parent does come to you, or another child does come to you and say your child is harming somebody else, emotionally, physically, to take that seriously and then sit your child down and have that discussion with them.
So I have a really short question, I hope. We have a texter say, how do you help your kids know that bullying is not okay when you can see adult leaders who bully in open public forums? How do you teach your kids that it's still not okay?
Yeah, and that's difficult because children, particularly younger children, are looking to older people as role models. And that's a tough thing to handle. But what you need to keep in mind is we know when something is bad and something is good when it comes to bullying. When you're openly harming somebody or causing, hurting their feelings, even if it's just online through messaging and things like that, we have this. We're able to tell when that's bad, when somebody says something that can hurt somebody else. And even if the person who does that is one of your role models, You have to separate that behavior from what else makes them your role model and know that that behavior in particular is bad, and that's not something I want to mimic.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ryan
Very,
Bartlett,
very helpful.
Director of Strategic Communication. We'll be right back.
Progressive's Home Quote Explorer helps you easily find and buy the right coverage for you. It's everything you've always wanted. Well, I mean, as far as a website that lets you shop, quote, and buy insurance in one place. But hey, maybe that is everything you've always wanted. Yeah, people have different types of dreams. And if all you've ever been searching for is a website that helps you choose home insurance rates and coverage, boy, do we have great news about Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We are joined again in studio by Russell Fawcett, co-founder of the Stern team of Amada Real Estate. And, Russell, you mentioned during the last break, you were talking just a little bit about selling and how sellers are still selling their homes. What's one of the biggest mistakes they're making right now, though?
Yeah, so the biggest mistake would be just overpricing. And we talked a little bit about that off the air as well, of really it's not a market to test the market. A buyer's not going to come in and overpay with the options that they have. And also the new construction that's out there, they're offering amazing incentives to buyers to get the interest rates down. And so testing the market is not going to work. You need to go in and have a pricing strategy that actually price your home at a price that's going to sell, because otherwise it's going to sit on the market.
Does it bother you as a realtor when people are your clients are testing the market? For example, and I know you serve your clients, but somebody who's looking at, boy, the houses in our neighborhood are off the charts. Why don't I jump into this? Not necessarily that they want to move, they just want to take advantage of a hot market and seemingly price their house a little high. Does that become a little bit frustrating?
So not really. And I'm definitely very straight with sellers where their homes are going to sell. I mean, we come in with the data. We understand, what we need to do to stage the home or to prep the home. I'll give an example of a good buddy. He wanted to test the market. And I said, that's fine. I'll put your home on the market and it becomes a billboard for me to attract buyers. But once a buyer comes in and sees your neighbor's home priced below yours, they're going to pick your neighbor's home. I can do the job as a realtor to do the advertising and to generate the interest, but once someone is actually looking to make an offer, they're not going to overpay for a house.
So if they're trying to decide whether they should sell now or wait, what's your advice to them?
I ask them about their life situation. So again, timing the market. If we all had that crystal ball, I mean, we would, even economists, that's their job to know the market and make predictions. They're consistently wrong. And so for me, it's, we look at what are your financial goals? What are your family goals? What do you want to accomplish? And then we make a plan based off of that, as opposed to making a plan based off of timing the market.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in just 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern team, powered by Amada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern team, powered by Amada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
and expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Housing prices are at their highest levels ever, and the newly passed housing bill, the one that President Trump allowed to go into law without his signature last week, hopes to make home ownership more attainable and affordable.
According to the National Association of Realtors, the average home price in the United States is more than $440,000. June saw the 36th straight month of rising home prices.
So with all that in mind, how the heck do we not lose hope? So we're joined again by Russell Fawcett with the Stern team of Amada Real Estate. Russell, how do we not lose hope?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me is even though the median household price continues to go up, wages are actually outpacing that. And so, it's going to take some time before it feels affordable again, but at least wages are outpacing the housing, the cost of housing. And then you have to understand that that's the median price. What you can buy for that price today is more than it was a year ago.
Interesting.
What is our market like right now along the Wasatch Front in terms of availability of homes?
Yeah, so we just crossed over about 14,000 homes on the MLS, and so
is that a high number?
It's getting back to normal.
Okay.
So we're still kind of that normal for us is between 13,000 and 15,000, and so we're sitting right in that kind of normal amount. The one thing though is builders, they're still not just overbuilding, and that's across the nation. I mean, that's kind of what this bill was focused at. But as long as lumber and all of the different things stay high, I mean, builders they're not going to go back to building spec homes. They got burnt so bad in the early 2000s that, I mean, they're making calculated decisions based off, kind of looking at what they're going to be able to sell.
So I always have a question for you about first-time home buyers because my kids are in that area. And I feel like some of them, like their expectations are maybe less realistic. I've got a daughter, though, that is a teacher, and she's hoping to be able to buy a home in about a year in the $300,000 range. Are there even any homes like that on the market?
So there are. I mean, and that's one of the things is understanding it's the first home and understanding that, I mean, you're not going to get that home in Sugar House. You're probably looking a little bit further out, kind of if you're in the Salt Lake Valley, looking out in Magna and, maybe Rose Park area. But it really just depends on, are they willing to live in a condo, a townhome, and start playing the equity game versus thinking they're going to get into that forever home as their first home.
What about people who are buying a first home? Let's say a small family, husband, wife, they've got a baby, maybe a baby on the way. They want a home, but they're also telling you, we want 2 or 3 more kids. I mean, how can you advise them because they may not be able to afford the home that has 2 or 3 more rooms?
So again, it's coming down to what can they afford. Let's take a look at the market and see, okay, here's what is available right now that you can afford. And let's look at the horizon. And then we can also look at data and say, look, I understand that maybe you want to try to wait, but if we wait, here's the actual cost of waiting. And we'll compare that. We have a rent calculator and, essentially the cost of renting to show them that we can keep trying to wait, but if we buy now, and let's say it continues to go up 2 to 4%, which we're starting to see, that's 1 to 2%. You're talking thousands of dollars over the life, and so now when we get to that, 5 years down the road when they're having more kids, they can sell that, use the equity to buy the next home without having their payments go through the roof because you're again playing that equity game of taking the gains, putting it on the new home. And so the payment isn't as scary on the second home as it is on that first one.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's what I did when we started. And so we had, the house was probably 20 years old when we got it. It's still out there, so it's even older now, right? But only had a couple of bedrooms. And then, of course, we upsized a couple of times.
What do you, I mean, sort of asking for a friend here, but what could parents do to help kids buy a home? I mean, I know there are rules and regulations in place in terms of gifts and whatnot, but when young home buyers come to you and say, "Hey, mom and dad want to help out," what do you like to know before you can give them advice on that?
Yeah, so I mean, first, we talk with the lender and say, "Okay, what's the situation?
Right.
What would help them?" Right? Because sometimes it is gift funds. They can gift part of the down payment. Or sometimes it may be, and again, the parent will have to decide on this. Sometimes it's just co-signing, right? Maybe their child doesn't have a good credit history, hasn't built up their credit, but the parent has. Sometimes it's just, being willing to co-sign on that will drop their interest rate because now they have, good credit on that loan. So it really just depends. But yeah, they can anywhere from, I've seen parents, I've even seen them actually go and get a second mortgage on their home to gift to the down payment. I've seen them co-sign. I've seen parents buy the home in their name. I mean,
I hadn't thought about it, but a co-signer with good credit can get you a better interest rate?
Absolutely.
Oh, I guess it makes perfect sense. I just hadn't thought about that. So that mom and dad's name on the line.
But they're on the hook. They are on that loan as if it was their own.
Right.
I would never take a second mortgage to give my kids money to buy a home. But maybe that's because the family's so big, so it wouldn't make that much difference. But one of the things, too, that I wonder about, and you've talked about it several times, but the importance of pricing your home accurately and correctly. I actually am genuinely curious. What factors play into that besides just what your neighbor's home sold for?
Yeah, so we like to say there's 3 things that sell a home besides location. So location is by far the most important thing when figuring out what a home's going to sell for. So it's location, location, location. Next is we look at the condition. So it's you price it for the condition in the location that you're in, and then how well are you marketing it? If you're not creating demand and you're only putting it out, if the only thing you do is stick a for sale by owner sign in the yard, you're not going to create the demand that would drive that price up. But ultimately, the key components are, price for the condition in your location. So if you're not getting the price that you want, you need to look at the condition and say, do I want to make repairs to bring this home up, or do I want to lower the price?
Yeah, earlier you talked about the data that you supply to sellers. I assume that means market data and other homes in the area data. And there's a lot that you do to help sellers price a home too. It's not just, hey, Russell, can you get me $1 million for this? Right. You're going to say, here's what I can get you and here's why.
Yeah, and we have to look at buyer behavior, right? Because sometimes, an appraiser will come in and they'll want to limit it to, maybe a mile, or they try to keep it very, very location-based, which I completely understand. But we also have to look at buyer behavior, especially in the luxury market. If we've had buyers that are not only looking in Park City, but they're also looking in Vail. So we have to price, especially here, of if they're willing to spend this much money, even though we'd never use that as a comp in, an appraisal, we are going to say, hey, these are the other homes that people can get for, $1, $2, $3 million, and make sure that they understand, because I love our state, and we really don't have those areas that you avoid. So if someone is willing to live pretty much anywhere in the valley, sometimes we're taking buyers from Provo to Ogden.
Oh wow!
Right. So we have to look a little bit broader on what the market is doing.
As always, very, very helpful information. That was Russell Fawcett. In the next hour on Inside Sources, Healing the Great Salt Lake. We'll get a live update on a new funding to help restore the struggling lake. We'll also share our thoughts with Senator Curtis's pushback that Congress still isn't involved in the war in Iran like he thinks they should be. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Isabella Sosa. KSL's top story this hour. A tuber lost both of her legs in a boating accident over the weekend. KSL News Radio's Reagan Edelman reports.
The Bear Lake County Sheriff's Office says a woman in her mid-30s was struck by a boat propeller while tubing, and it was thanks to bystanders she survived the accident. The beachgoers quickly applied tourniquets to her injury, buying time for her to be life-flighted from the scene. The family is asking for privacy, but they do say she's now in stable condition, and they shared a GoFundMe page dedicated to her. She has already undergone multiple surgeries, including a double amputation of both legs, and she will be hospitalized for the foreseeable future.
Police say the accident is an active and ongoing investigation. We're hearing from one person who helped save the woman's life after the Bear Lake boating accident. Dan Taylor tells KSL he happened to have a tourniquet in his car after taking a first aid class just weeks prior to this. And he says he and his wife were able to tourniquet the woman's legs and keep her stable until paramedics arrived.
Her spirit of just staying in the moment and staying calm was nothing I could have ever conceived in a situation like that.
Taylor says they're just grateful they were in the right place at the right time. Northrop Grumman broke ground on a new facility in Weber County. The company says it's their 6th building in the company's Roy campus. It's set to house employees working on the Sentinel program for the Air Force, helping to advance America's missile capabilities. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 45 points, the S&P 500 is up 1 point, and the NASDAQ is up 23 points. Coming up, we may be in for a rainy week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today. Call 855-TRAJAN-1. That's 855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
As we celebrate America 250, KSL presents Utah Cornerstones, honoring the businesses that built our past and continue to shape our future.
Some businesses sell products. Others become part of a community's legacy. Since 1948, Duke's Jewelers has been a trusted part of Springville and Utah families' most meaningful moments. That's 80 years of meaningful craftsmanship, founded by J. Melvin Duke. The tradition continues today under 4th-generation owner Kimberly Narupe, who quite literally grew up in the family shop. She has a fresh perspective and deep respect for tradition. Guided by values of care, honesty, and exceptional craftsmanship, Duke's Jewelers creates pieces designed to last a lifetime because every design begins with a story. Since Duke's is a family-owned store with lower overhead, they can offer better diamonds and craftsmanship at a better price. Learn more about this Utah Cornerstone at dukesjewelers.com.
Utah Cornerstones on KSL News Radio.
Hey, honey, I was thinking about updating the house a little.
A little?
You know, new siding, new windows, gutters that actually work, maybe even a new deck.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, I called RGS Exteriors.
Well, that's a good decision.
When it comes to upgrading your home's exterior, the right choice is easy. RGS Exteriors specializes in siding, windows, gutters, and decking that transform the look and protection of your home.
Hi, Tim Brown, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's McKenna Rodriguez.
The crash on southbound I-15 at the South Interchange is completely pulled off the road on the right side, and there's a disabled vehicle right after 600 North in Salt Lake City, but it's out of traffic and sitting on the right shoulder there. Your dream kitchen starts at Bedrock Quartz. Visit a showroom near you or explore surfaces online at bedrockquartz.com. I'm McKenna Rodriguez in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperatures will be sitting in the high 90s all week with a low chance of rain the next 2 days and then a 50% chance on Friday. Right now it's mostly cloudy and 82 degrees. I'm Isabella Sosa from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. Healing the Great Salt Lake.
Well, with the terrible snowpack we had this last year and the worsening drought, and now blowing dust across the Wasatch Front, the Great Salt Lake is, of course, in danger. This isn't just a right or left issue at this point. It's legitimately a human issue, and it's something that affects all of us. We have to do something about it now, and I think a lot of our leaders think that, especially if we want to have a future.
This morning, there was a major announcement of new funding to help support the Great Salt Lake. In particular, the money is expected to help with shoreline preservation and wetland conservation.
Yeah, so let's get more on this investment today. Joining us now is Ben Hart. He's the Executive Director of the Utah Inland Port Authority. Ben, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It is an honor to be with you.
Hi, Ben. Look, my very first question is this part of the president's $1 billion to save the Great Salt Lake, the money that you announced this morning?
No, this is totally separate from that. And so the inland port has different funding mechanisms. This one comes through property taxes in the northwest quadrant of Salt Lake City. It adds to what we've already contributed. So we've given $5 million previously. With today's announcement, we're now up to $7.5 million for shoreline conservation. But to your point, if we're going to heal the Great Salt Lake, we need to invest.
Okay, so we can't buy rain, obviously. So tell us what shoreline conservation is and how that affects the health of the lake.
Well, the ecosystem of the Great Salt Lake is so fragile. And as we see, there's a lot of development that is occurring up to and getting closer and closer to the lake itself. We have to create better buffers and boundaries. And ultimately, as we're able to protect those ecosystems, it may not look like wetlands in our minds, what we're used to seeing. But the reality is, if it's got the right kind of soil, if it's got the right kind of plants, it may not have the presence of water, but it's got all the other characteristics. So those are areas that we need to protect as well. So it's not just about visibly what looks like wetlands, but it's those areas adjacent to it to make sure we're keeping development away. And that's what today's announcement was all about.
It's interesting, and I hadn't really thought about the Utah Inland Port Authority being involved in the Great Salt Lake. Can you speak to that, I guess, the cooperation there?
Well, absolutely. And as I mentioned in my remarks this morning, I was telling my daughter about this, my 9-year-old daughter about this last night. And her comment was, you're dealing with air cargo, you're dealing with traffic. These birds are the coolest transportation network we have in the state of Utah. We have to protect their ecosystem. So the inland port, we do. Our goal and our stated objective is, look, we've got to level up the state's transportation network. We can't be so dependent on truck traffic to bring our cargo to us and cars to bring our cargo to us. We're also looking at air, but it's also how do we optimize regional economies? Those things have to be in balance. And let me just give an example of that. We had a business that we were recruiting to the state, and one of their top concerns was, look, we're concerned about what we're hearing about the Great Salt Lake. Are our employees going to be safe? This brand and this narrative that is the Great Salt Lake and the state of Utah is all interconnected. If we're not protecting the Great Salt Lake, we're not going to be able to grow the economy. What people perceive as what's happening in the state of Utah probably isn't reality. So if we don't take steps, and very public steps, to protect the lake, it's going to damage who we can recruit, jobs we can create, the economy that we can grow. The more we're all working together, on both sides of the aisle, this is an issue that should unite us all to protect not only the Great Salt Lake, but also to help grow our economy.
So let me go back to something you talked about earlier, Ben, because I'm really intrigued by it when you talked about the surrounding land, the surrounding area that's not necessarily what we consider to be duck and geese habitat.
Right.
Maybe it is, but are you talking about some of this money will be used to purchase land or to improve land, or how will this money be used? And maybe you can't disclose that yet, but I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, no, we can talk about it, absolutely. The exact parcels are still under negotiation, so we can't talk about exactly where. But yes, it is for land conservations and direct land purchases. We want to get that land out of the private sector, and it's nothing against our development community. We love our development community, but we know that if they have land that is entitled and they can develop it, they will take that opportunity to. But if we can purchase that land where it's adjacent to wetlands, and again, it may not look like wetlands now, but it has the right soil, the right playa, and it's got the right plants, and ultimately there may be water there someday, then it creates a really good buffer between those delicate ecosystems and the development that's happening. So what we see is just, oh, that looks like, more dirt. It's actually something that is very particular, a very particular kind of dirt playa to the Great Salt Lake. And so we may just see white sand, but the reality is that's very important to the ecosystem. So we can't just protect what to us looks like wetlands. It has to be things that are around that wetland as well.
That's interesting, yeah.
What is the time frame that you're looking at with some of these projects?
Well, so we made 3 announcements today. The $7.5 million, we would like to see that deployed for land purchases ASAP. So we would hope that would happen in the next several months as we're negotiating with landowners, and specifically the Department of Natural Resources continues to negotiate with landowners. The second part of this, we have invested into Utah Waterways, a nonprofit organization that will be an advisor to the Utah Inland Port Authority. That happens immediately. We want their advice because we know we're not the smartest people in the world when it comes to protecting the Great Salt Lake. The third part, which we really need the public's help with, is we really want public input on our natural resources policy. This is the blueprint for how the port develops around the Great Salt Lake. We're asking the public to come in. It's available on our website, inlandport.utah.gov. They can come in and weigh in and give us direction, public feedback, instruction on how they would like to see development occur around the Great Salt Lake. For us, it's not just in the Northwest Quadrant. We're in Tooele, we're in Weber County, we're in Box Elder County. We want the public to have a say in how we create these boundaries and buffers and balance good development and economic growth with protecting the Great Salt Lake.
It's interesting, and you answered this a little bit earlier, Ben, with a question Holly asked, but that the Inland Port Authority is involved in this transaction and this saving the lake. I mean, it's not a dichotomy at all, but it's just an interesting, working relationship. How did you all get so involved in it that way?
Well, it's a very unique opportunity for the Inland Port with our partners, and this really is a partner effort. But we know the Inland Port got off to a rocky start in 2018, 2019. I think that's been well observed. And so we hope as we've been able to pivot the organization that we've been able to work hand in glove with our communities, and our communities want to protect the Great Salt Lake. Salt Lake City does an amazing job with that. Our other communities around the Great Salt Lake want to protect the Great Salt Lake as well. And so for us, it's not only what we want, but we feel like instead of having this patchwork of development around the Great Salt Lake from different communities, the port can provide some leadership and help to create something that will consistently protect the Great Salt Lake. We have that ability because of where our project areas are located, but I would say not just the opportunity, the responsibility to make sure that we're doing that. We need a visibly healthy lake to hand to the next generation of Utahns. I hope that we don't give them a Great Salt Lake that's in dire need of support and help, but I hope we take action now to give them a better Great Salt Lake than what we've inherited. Creating these buffers and boundaries is critical to that.
All right. Thanks so much. That was Ben Hart, Executive Director of the Utah Inland Port Authority. And when we come back, I want to talk about ICE vehicle stops. So yesterday, the Homeland Security Secretary said ICE would pause those searches. But this morning, the president says, yeah, no, those are going to continue. So more on that next.
Usually when something sounds way too good to be true, it is. Imagine someone saying you can cut your mobile bill in half. Sounds like a fantasy, but with Xfinity Mobile, it's the real deal. Because when you have Xfinity Internet, you can cut your mobile bill in half, plus try Xfinity Mobile free for a year. No commitment. That's a lot of streaming, sharing, scrolling, whatever else you can do with your phone, all for half the price and none of the commitment. That means you'll save big over Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Wild. Now all you have to do is think about how you'll spend all that extra money. Call 1-800-XFINITY, go to xfinitymobile.com, or visit your local Xfinity store to switch today. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Savings compare one line of Xfinity Mobile Select to comparable plans from T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T as of 3/24/26. Taxes, fees, extra. $30 monthly discount limited to new mobile customers only after 12 months. Regular rates apply. Go to XfinityMobile.com.
Buying a home can feel overwhelming, especially when your real estate agent recommends a lender you've never heard of. That's okay, but this is your mortgage. Before you lock anything in, get a second opinion. Loans by Rick has closed over 1,000 loans, often finding lower rates and closing costs. A quick second look could save you money. Call 801-809-SAVE. That's 801-809-SAVE. Or go to loansbyrick.com. Rick Urchenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106, Equal Opportunity Lenders. Buying a home? Before you choose your realtor's preferred lender, a bank, or a credit union, get a second opinion from Loans by Rick. With over 25 years of mortgage lending experience and access to more than 80 wholesale lenders, we can shop multiple loan programs to help find the financing that best fits your needs. Experience and finding ways to save you money? That's what we do. Call Loans by Rick today at 801-809-7283. That's 801-809-7283. Rick Urchenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106, Equal Opportunity Lenders.
Breaking news doesn't wait, and neither should you. So you can get immediate news text alerts anytime news breaks by downloading the KSL News Radio app for free for breaking push alerts on your phone, or subscribe to our breaking news text line. Just text news to 57500 to get started. KSL News Radio, your home for breaking news.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-381-4183, 800-381-4183, or biglou.com.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
There's a lot of fallout nationwide today over 2 fatal ICE shootings in the past few days. The Department of Homeland Security was going to step in and make some changes as of yesterday, but recent comments from the president have rerouted that plan.
Yeah, before we get into this, let's get more from ABC's Victor Oquendo.
Multiple sources telling ABC News that ICE agents will receive new training on vehicle stops and that the current pause should be considered temporary. Additionally, a source says that ICE officers can conduct some vehicle stops during the pause, but only in the presence of local law enforcement who are trained to make traffic stops.
So there's always a question about, and we're talking about ICE agents, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, what authority they have to conduct inquiries under the Fourth Amendment, and a traffic stop, believe it or not, is a Fourth Amendment detention. Police officers can stop a car if they see it commit, the driver rather, a violation in their presence, or they have some other probable cause. ICE agents aren't really traffic cops, so we always have an issue with under what authority can they stop a car. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Can they just...
Absolutely.
I
I
mean,
think that's a huge question, right?
The whole idea that you see 3 Hispanics in a car, is that probable cause? Absolutely not. And that's what's getting some of these agencies in trouble. Now, Trump has said ICE absolutely cannot give that up, and I'm just looking at some of the things he's saying here, that the traffic stop is the first source of contact between law enforcement and some of these individuals, and it's something that absolutely cannot be given up. I can understand that because it is important, but you still have to have a reason to stop the car.
Well, he's overriding his Homeland Security Secretary. That's Markwayne Mullin. He's the one who yesterday said, okay, we're going to temporarily halt these traffic stops. That was Markwayne, and it was supposed to be effective immediately because we've seen 2 different instances in Maine and in Texas where people were shot and killed where they weren't really doing anything wrong.
I know.
I mean, that's what the evidence shows. Not that they were doing anything wrong.
Was it Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Months ago.
Yep,
Now all of a
yep.
sudden we have Maine and Texas.
Yep.
This is not good. And those are, unfortunately for the administration, battleground states right now with key Senate races, and you don't want to have ICE in your community during midterm elections when your Senate race is so important. I mean, I'm looking at it from the wrong angle here, but I would think even Trump would look at it from that perspective and say, I don't know if this is a hill we want to die on right now.
Oh, that's an interesting way to phrase that. So it's something I think where we know the agent that shot the man in Maine this week was new. We know that the training is not extensive, and I'm sure for normal police officers, regular police officers, law enforcement, there is training on how to pull people over and how to do it safely. This man was shot and killed in front of his 3-year-old daughter.
Yeah, right. And I think that the shooting officer felt that the vehicle was being used in some sort of
But there's no
way.
there's
That's another
first of all,
thing.
they weren't wearing body cameras, just like the case in Texas. Second of all, eyewitnesses and video witnesses say that was not the case. And in fact, this guy's last words were, "I was trying to stop." They shot him in the head, pulled him out, threw him on the ground, and as he was dying, he said, "I was trying to stop."
Yeah,
he's here legally, by the way.
I'll say something else. In this time in our country, 2026, an officer who doesn't have a body cam, you have to wonder why. I mean,
face mask. No body cam, but a face mask.
And a mask and no body cam. As a criminal defense attorney, if you were looking at that in terms of was it a legitimate stop, you have all kinds of sort of interesting information that supports the theory that it was a targeted stop and not a probable cause stop, which is required under the law. You can't just pull people over because of their color.
Yeah, there's been no discussion about anything he was doing wrong, except, as you said, they're claiming he was trying to weaponize his vehicle, but there's no evidence of that at all. He was here legally. He had a Social Security number, permission to work, permission to live, and they shot and killed him in front of his family.
Yeah, ICE does not need this right now. I mean, what is it, Markwayne Mullin, who took over that agency and said we're going to change things, and seemingly did.
Yeah, and
now, all of a
trying
sudden
to.
We have two more shootings, 2 more deaths, 2 more ICE agents who, do things that really you really have to. I mean, I understand traffic stops. We've all been stopped by police officers, and keep your hands on the wheel. But I mean, I'm not African American, I'm not Hispanic, or I would have been stopped many, many more times than I have been because I'm a terrible driver. But I'm an old white man, and so I'm going to get away with things that other people shouldn't. And I say that, I know that doesn't sound good, but I say that based on 44 years of experience. We call it driving while brown.
Yeah.
Driving while black. I mean, that's not a crime, but we actually
it's not
use
a
that.
crime, but it can be
but
treated
our
like
law
it.
enforcement here in Utah has been great They really have been. We don't see that anymore like we did 20, 30, 40 years ago. But ICE is taking us backwards and taking us into an area where, again, we're basing probable cause on things other than running a red light or speeding or, the things that we normally take as a reason why we can stop a vehicle. And ICE isn't writing speeding tickets anyway.
Right.
And local law enforcement is telling them, you're not the traffic cops. So what are we doing pulling over vehicles in the first place?
So I think one of the things you already mentioned it's battleground states. So Susan Collins is in Maine. She's Republican, and she was her opponent was Graham Plattner. Remember, he had all of these problems, and he is no longer in the race. And so this was supposed to be a state that Susan could maybe hold on to as a centrist, Republican centrist.
Right.
But with stuff like this, she's going to really struggle because she has also been supportive in voting for additional funding for ICE. I think that plays into, could the Senate actually swing hands, right? Because Republicans, when Plattner dropped out, they're like, oh, yippee, we're going to keep Susan Collins in that seat. And then you have this incident, and man, there are protests. There are people, like there were witnesses who are coming forward, and they're saying, people literally ask them, why are you testifying? Because, like, aren't you afraid? And the person who was an eyewitness right there, he said, because I know ICE is going to change their story, and I don't want them to be able to do that.
And it's also creating a problem just within the administration because the director of Homeland Security is saying, hey, time out. We're not traffic cops. We're not going to do these detentions anymore.
And we're going to do additional
training. And Trump
training.
is saying, the heck we're not. That's the most important way for law enforcement to get these people is to do. And he says he is ordering ICE to resume vehicle stops.
Yes. And gosh, there's a lot to say about that. But I think it's got to be awkward within the administration when you're supposed to be in charge of an agency and then you get overridden in a public way.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what the individual agents are thinking here. Your boss tells you one thing and his boss says something else. I mean, if I'm an ICE agent, do you even want to go anywhere near a traffic stop right now? The scrutiny. I mean, if I saw ICE agents pull a car over, and I've never videotaped anybody pulling a car over, I'd probably pull out my camera.
So one of the things too that has come out in both of these cases, both in Texas and in Maine, is that the people who were shot and killed were not the target of ICE. ICE was going to look for a specific person in both states. The person they killed was not that person. It wasn't even the person they were looking for. It's just that they were both brown.
Yeah, and how many times do you hear in Utah a traffic stop that ends with somebody being shot? It's so rare. But then you have ICE agents who are doing it, 2 in Minnesota just within a very short time, 1 in Texas, 1 in Maine, a very short time. I mean, these shouldn't be happening with law enforcement, let alone with our federal agents.
Right. So that was a great discussion. So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with that, and hopefully people will be held accountable for whatever they did. And I'm not saying these ICE agents acted inappropriately, but it sure has.
I'll say that they did.
Concerns about what they did.
Yeah,
and let's see what the other, since they're not wearing body cams, which they probably should be in this day and age.
They definitely should.
Somebody
be.
ought to, but somebody's videotaping it, and we'll see where that goes. Well, when we come back on Inside Sources, our own Senator John Curtis says Congress needs to push back on President Trump a little bit more, especially as the attacks on Iran ramp up. And the president says the ceasefire is over. Our thoughts coming up next.
It's 11:29 at KSL News Radio. I'm Isabella Sosa. KSL's top story this hour from ABC News. During a hearing in front of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Wednesday, Director of National Intelligence nominee Jay Clayton faced tough grilling from lawmakers, including a tense moment with Democratic Senator Mark Warner around his views on who won the 2020 election.
So let me just ask you, it should be a simple question. Do you deny that Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
Senator, I'm not an election denier. Joe Biden was certified as the president of the United States.
Clayton was grilled on various topics, including President Donald Trump's expected address to the nation tomorrow night, his role in previous investigations in Manhattan, and on subpoenas issued to New York Times journalists last week over their reporting on security concerns over the new Qatari-gifted Air Force One. Texas officials urge caution as dangerous rainfall is expected to continue today, heightening concerns of possible flash floods in areas like the Hill Country. ABC's Faith Abube has the details.
Governor Greg Abbott issuing disaster declaration in 59 counties. The water surging through streets so powerful it swept away multiple vehicles. The sudden deluge catching many off guard. This man waded through chest-deep water to save a stranger clinging to a tree after being swept away by the floodwaters.
There you go.
Both made it out alive.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 79 points, the S&P 500 is up 12 points, and the NASDAQ is up 79 points. Coming up, grab an umbrella. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Amanda, every business needs IT help, and sometimes you've got that guy who already works for your company who knows how to do this stuff, but sometimes you don't, or the guy who knows the IT stuff, that's not his actual job.
Right. So Les Olson IT they can be your 24/7 help desk. They can support your existing help desk. They can do advanced cybersecurity protection. Maybe just come and take a look. Are you subject to phishing or ransomware or other things? What are the cyber threats you're facing?
And you've got to make sure that your data is secure, so both cloud and data backup solutions, they can help you with that. Plus, everybody's got to use a computer. That's where hardware comes in, infrastructure support. You don't have to know all this stuff because Les Olson IT knows it.
And most of the time, they can help you fix whatever's going wrong remotely, just off your computer. Plus, of course, they have copiers and printers. They always will at the very best price.
Les Olson IT is your trusted local IT partner. They've been in business for 70 years, and they've got 9 locations from Logan to Las Vegas.
Find out more at lesolson.com.
Hi, how can I help? Well, my husband and I feel like we've outgrown our current money manager.
I see.
Our lives have changed, and we need something more than just mutual funds to help us in retirement.
She's right.
I hear that often. At Fisher Investments, we'd start by getting to know you, your finances, family, health, lifestyle. We tailor a portfolio around your goals and needs.
Sounds good.
Can you help with estate planning?
Yes. We have a team of specialists who can help you with estate planning, Social Security, investment income, and more. We'll get to know your whole financial picture and help keep you on the path to a comfortable retirement.
And your fees?
We have a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of the value of your portfolio. So we do better when you do better.
I feel better already.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
There's nothing like getting outside, moving, and enjoying time with friends. Utah offers endless ways to get outdoors and stay active. Pickleball, hiking, biking, and more. Staying healthy is fun if you do it safely. Intermountain Health recommends taking time to stretch, warm up, stay hydrated, and pace yourself. These small steps keep activities safe and enjoyable for everyone. Because when you make health and safety part of every activity, you're taking care of what matters most: your life, your health.
Are you a local business tired of juggling deliveries, managing drivers, or sending valuable employees across town? There's a better way. Pigeon Ship. For more than 10 years, Pigeon Ship has provided fast, reliable, same-day and next-day delivery services for businesses throughout Utah. Whether you need a few deliveries a day or hundreds, Pigeon Ship has the network, technology, and experience to get it done on time. Auto parts, plumbing supplies, electrical components, pharmacy deliveries, and more. Utah's most successful businesses trust Pigeon Ship to keep their operations moving. Stop the stress of hiring drivers. Stop pulling employees away from their real jobs. And stop worrying about whether your deliveries will arrive on time. Join the thousands of businesses that rely on Pigeon Ship every day for dependable local delivery solutions. Visit pigeonship.com today to schedule a call and see how quickly Pigeon Ship can streamline your delivery operations. Pigeon Ship. Avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. That's pigeonship.com. PigeonShip.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. Here's McKenna Rodriguez.
Across the Wasatch Front, there are currently no out-of-the-ordinary delays. Still a couple vehicles affecting traffic, though. The disabled vehicle just after 600 North is on the right shoulder, and again, no delays there. And we still have the crash on the South Interchange, and the final stage is a cleanup. Today only, buy one ticket, get one free. Plan now to see Jenny Oaks Baker, Joy to the World, a sacred celebration in Salt Lake, Ogden, and Orem. Tickets at jennyoaksbaker.com. I'm McKenna Rodriguez in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, the high will reach 95, the coolest day for the rest of the week. We're also looking at a chance of thunderstorms this afternoon with a slight chance of storms every day into next week. Right now, it's mostly cloudy and 82 degrees. I'm Isabella Sosa from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. War in Iran.
Well, as you know, our own Senator John Curtis is pushing back on the administration a little bit. He is reaffirming that Congress has to involve themselves in this war in Iran at some point.
So the senator's comments came after President Trump said the ceasefire agreement was over, that attacks have resumed and are amplified. And one of the things that's interesting to me about this is he actually did notify Congress that there was going to be military action against Iran.
So seems like Congress should be able to jump in at some point. And this whole 60-day thing is really a question, too, because the president can, I guess, have some conflict.
Yeah.
After 60 days, Congress has to jump in, and Trump seems to be resetting that clock every once in a while.
So you can't actually do that.
I know. I'm just saying.
So
he's the president.
So under the War Powers Act, U.S. forces can only stay in a targeted area for 60 days after the president notifies Congress. And so we know that this thing started in February, which was a lot more than 60 days ago. The president tried to say, well, that was halted by a ceasefire. Now the ceasefire is completely over. There has been a lot of back and forth happening in Iran. John Curtis, Senator Curtis says that doesn't mean that the 60-day clock starts over. This isn't a new conflict. And he does say there is ambiguity in the War Powers Resolution, but this is something Congress needs to do. This part shouldn't be questioned.
So he's 100% right. So let's do something about it. I mean, Congress needs to get going and do something about this. I mean, maybe they'll say, let's support the war. That's great. If they want to do that, that's fine. That's their right. But to say, hey, we're still in the 60-day thing, the clock started over and whatever, is just following the lead of the president, whether it's right or wrong. Let's have some serious discussion about it, because the country is not happy with what's happening in Iran. Most people, I just looked at a poll just a minute ago, 57% of the country thinks it was a mistake.
Yep.
27% thinks it was a good idea. That means they're 25% that are whatever. But, most of the country thinks it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So why aren't our congressional leaders taking this similar stance and saying, okay, let's weigh what's going on here? Because jumping back into that fray is not helping anything.
Yeah. So one of the things that John Curtis said, and he has said this before, right, is he thinks Congress needs to do something. And so when the Deseret News congressional correspondent Cami Mondo asked him, what can you do? He said, funding is our lever. Right. So the White House has requested that Congress approve an additional $67 billion with a B in supplemental funding related to the Iran war. They're trying to put it in a budget reconciliation bill. But John Curtis is like, no, look, we can look at what was approved and legally spent during the 90-day legal window, because you have 60 days plus you can get one 30-day extension. We're way past that. Right. We're way past that. And so he wants to look at that and say, okay, if I can say this was money spent during that 90-day window, otherwise I'm not in favor, he might be one who can pull people along and say, it's finally time for Congress to act.
And I'm one of those Americans who, I guess I'm naive, but what are we doing? I mean, we seemingly had some agreement not long ago. Trump said, we're going to have some limited nuclear stockpiles that they can keep. They're going to have some limited use of weapons that they can keep, and they're getting $300 billion. That'll be great. But let's talk about, moving forward. And now all of a sudden they're scum. They can't be believed. They're horrible people. I'm quoting Trump. And the bombing has started again. And the Iranians, I have no idea what they're thinking either, why they continue to invite this or continue to poke the bear, which is what they continue to do. And it's not helping anybody.
Well, look, that's a whole question about why did we get involved over there. And the president in February said it was because we can't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, which, if you remember, in October said that all nuclear weapon facilities were decimated and completely destroyed. But we've also had this back and forth in the last couple of days about who is going to control the Strait of Hormuz. And so one of the things, of course, is that before this military action began in February, the strait was open and no tariffs or tolls or taxes were being charged. Then it closed, and that is one of the levers I think that Iran has, is they have the ability to close that strait. They've done that, and then part of the ceasefire was we've got this 60-day window where we're negotiating peace. And so what's also a little bit weird to me is the ceasefire is over, but negotiations are ongoing. It's like, well, what's the motivation to come to the table when you're still bombing them?
Well, and I don't know that there are negotiations. If they say there are, but we don't see anybody there in Pakistan or in other countries that were hosting this and saying,
maybe they're using Zoom. I don't. Maybe they're using Signal, whatever that is, Signal chat. But with the strait, 2 days ago, the president said, okay, we control the strait and we're going to charge 20% of the worth of the cargo for every ship that goes through. And then yesterday he said, never mind, we're not going to charge 20%. We're going to control it.
Right.
And now we have CENTCOM is blockading the strait. So now we have U.S. ships blockading the strait. And Iran is firing, and they're firing at some of their neighbors, right? UAE, Bahrain. Their
neighbors have U.S. bases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Neighbors that are more allied with the U.S. government. So, and I told you that there was a $67 million appropriation. Well, as of an hour ago, the price tag's gone up to $90 billion that they're asking for in supplemental funding.
Well, and maybe, so you said something about Curtis that makes a lot of sense to me, and let's hope that he's true to it, which is, well, let's cut off the funding. I mean, at some point, if you can't get the administration's attention and there is a war going on that the country, let's face it, does not want us to be in, and it is a war, no matter what you want to call it. We're certainly not under a ceasefire, that's for sure, that maybe we just cut off the funding and the military says, hey, we can't do this anymore.
What's interesting is yesterday there was a vote in the Senate about funding the military. And this is to the tune of $1 trillion. Yeah. It's not just the Iran war, but it incorporates the Iran war. Well, it failed yesterday. It failed in the Senate because Democrats are like, we absolutely are not going to support this, right? And as we drag on into a fifth month, no clear end game in sight. And the tally was 50 to 46. So killed in the Senate yesterday, this funding bill. So they're trying to get... this is the NDAA, a bill that really does need to pass, but they're just saying, no, we're not going to do it.
Come on, Joe Curtis. Do your job.
I hope that he's able to, and I know that he's not the only one. But one of the interesting things about this, and we're almost out of time, but one of the interesting things about this too, is that Lindsey Graham was kind of a key person there in these talks about what's happening militarily.
Yeah.
Well, he's gone.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so when we come back, there on Inside Sources, there was a little oopsie-daisy with the dates in Iron County, forcing a planning meeting to end early. We're going to go back in time a couple thousand years next.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
It was my fault.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
What if I told you that 4 weeks from now, everything could feel different? Think about that. August 15th. 4 weeks, that's a little over 4 weeks. Your weight would be better. Your clothes will fit better. Well, that's what SOTA Dynamic Diet is built to do. Right now, listeners can actually get 4 weeks for free when they just do this. They call 866-800-SOTA, S-O-T-A, and mention KSL News Radio. SOTA teaches you how to let go of the weight and keep it off for a lifetime. No shots, no pills, no lifetime dependency, just real food, expert guidance, and habits that last. SOTA believes weight loss should not be temporary, that weight loss should be temporary, results should not be. And that's how it's been for me. The weight loss came off in about 4 weeks, and the results are continuing, and I hope that they'll continue forever. That's my plan with SOTA. They've been good. It's been a wonderful program for me. I lost 30 pounds, and I can never thank them enough for what they've done for the way I feel and the way I look. SOTA, say it with me, state of the art.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
And Doug. Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons, and lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen, and oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live, and you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. From the people who brought you It's the Dog Park comes.
Your dog is limping, but she seems fine. Plus, you've heard they can fake it just to get what they want. So what's the deal now? You're being gaslit.
Protect your dog from injury and illness with Progressive Pet Insurance.
Oh, now she switched legs. What a diva.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Coverage subject to policy terms.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Larson & Company is one of the largest CPA firms in Utah, with offices in Salt Lake City, Spanish Fork, and Moab. They have earned multiple recognitions and continue to rank among the fastest growing firms in the country. Partner Kyle Robbins joins us with more.
Larson was founded in 1975, and for 50 years we've grown alongside Utah businesses. We started with a focus on Utah's insurance industry and remain nationally ranked as one of the largest auditors of insurance companies in the country. Over time, that expertise has expanded into key industries like manufacturing, real estate, construction, dealerships, and nonprofits, with services ranging from audit and tax to accounting and advisory support. We know the Utah business landscape because we've been part of it for half a century, helping organizations navigate growth and change along the way. At Larson, we aim to be true partners with our clients, built on a culture of continuous improvement and year-round support. We focus on relationships, responsiveness, and practical solutions that help you make confident decisions. And with a 92% employee retention rate, our clients get to work with the same team year after year, saving them both time and money.
By helping businesses stay strong, adaptable, and prepared for growth, Larson & Company continues to play an important role in Utah's economy and business community. To learn more about their services and history, visit larsco.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
The new Inside Sources.
So this story is funny to me. So the Iron County Planning Commission postponed a meeting last night because it was mistakenly scheduled for the year 226.
Yeah, they said that they found that they posted the meeting. They're supposed to send notice out. They have to do that. They have to make sure that everybody has published the notice at least 24 hours in advance. And they said it's going to be held on July 13th, 226. They left a 0 out.
I know.
And because it's inappropriate, they didn't give fair notice. They had to cancel the meeting.
Well, and I think because it didn't show up on the state website, right? Because it's like, it's not this date.
Oh, good point.
So,
yeah.
so
it's not going to be on the calendar.
That's right. It's not on the calendar. The county clerk joked that this was slightly before Constantine was emperor, if you can believe it or not. So
good for him.
It's really funny. It's funny, not funny, right? They had to cancel the meeting because there was potential, of course, that somebody could sue and say, hey, this wasn't properly noticed, and it was not properly noticed.
Yeah, you put it on the calendar. And
I mean, you can make a guess, right? You can make a guess that this was something that they did. So I thought that was just a really fun,
at least somebody had a
fun
sense of humor
and funny
about it.
political story.
Right.
So I do have some fun facts of the day today. That involve you.
Yes, I know.
So it is your birthday, which we are super excited about, and we have a special guest in studio for your birthday.
My wife is in studio.
Yes, she is. Hi, Rebecca Skordas. How are you?
Happy birthday, darling.
It's good to see you. Well, I had no idea. What a pleasant surprise.
So I wondered, Rebecca, if you could tell some of our listeners some fun facts about Greg Skordas.
Can I tell a story instead?
Yes.
Okay, because I think this one sums up Greg.
Okay.
I had no idea this was happening. This is not fair.
So Greg and I practiced law together for 15 years. So I walk into the office, and there's a woman sitting in the lobby, and there's a little girl sitting next to her. And Greg is down on one knee.
Oh.
And he's talking directly to the little girl so that he's eye to eye to her. She's a crime victim, and Greg has done a lot of work over the years for crime victims. He represents them in court, and he does it for nothing. And the image of him looking at that little girl with such kindness and there to champion her, I'm sorry I get choked up, but it was a beautiful moment, and it really sums up, not a fun fact about Greg.
Yeah. Well, it is
but
a nice fact.
A really, wonderful thing about him.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't know you were going to come in and make everybody cry.
Yeah, including me. Yeah.
No, that's really awesome. No, that is really great. And look, we've now had a chance to work together for just over a year. And there are a couple of things. Yes, he's very kind. I also his drive just is I like being matched in drive. I don't have the physical outdoor stuff, but I'm a go-getter. Greg is really a go-getter. And so when he had his bike accident in the fall and he's like, I think I'll be off a day. Are you crazy? You're going to be out for a day? It was slightly longer than that, but it was for normal people, they would have been out for months.
I had to call KSL and say, my husband's been seriously injured. Please don't let him come back to work for 2 weeks.
I know, and he still couldn't do it.
I still got back early. But, hey, I have to say something. And when we had our meeting the other day, and they said, well, tell us something about Greg. One of the first things you said, do you remember? He has a great relationship with his wife. Yeah. He really likes his wife. And
well, that's good.
And I would say, I would say that when I had that injury, it was significant. It was the worst injury I'd ever had. It was in November. I fractured my pelvis on a bike ride. I mean, she not only came and got me, drove the 4-wheel drive up to get me, but loaded me in the car, took me to the hospital, and took care of me because there were things you can't do when you have a fracture, including sit up.
I know.
Get out of bed, walk around.
I know, which is why you sent us a picture of your X-ray, and I'm like, I think I probably can't come in tomorrow, but probably the next day. I'm like, no.
Okay. So he does have one idiosyncrasy, because I didn't want this to be all serious, but I just wanted to share that story because I'll never forget that.
That's awesome.
So it doesn't matter if we're driving somewhere, whether or not the quickest route is going to be the route we take, because if it requires him to backtrack, he refuses to do it. In other words, he will only go from point A to point B if it's a direct route, even though it's demonstrably clear that if we took an alternative route, we would get there quicker. But no, if you have to backtrack, he absolutely refuses to go that way.
I always think that
that's funny.
The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and that's the route that I take. So
I have to tell you this. We do have some texters. One
Uh-oh.
says happy birthday, and she says, I'm crying in my car from that story. And another one says, that was really awesome. What a great tribute to share on the radio. Happy birthday, Greg.
Yeah. Well, a year from today, you're going to be married to a 70-year-old, so I hope you're ready for that, Rebecca, because this is my last year in the 60s. And, I did this bike ride race over the weekend. You were very supportive of that, and it was a lot of fun, and I wanted to kind of see how I stack up because this injury knocked me out a little bit. I wasn't as fast as I wanted to be, but now it's got me enthused.
Yeah, but you did 77 miles, so like a crazy
now I'm
person.
thinking, well, I can race with those 70-year-olds next year. I'll see how I can compete. Maybe not so.
All right, I have a couple of other questions for you then, Rebecca. Does he have a favorite food or a favorite color?
He has no favorite color that I am aware of. Favorite food?
What you like about me is what? I eat everything.
Yes, that is what I like about him. He doesn't really have a favorite food. He'll put anything I prepare in front of him and tell me it's great.
And Rebecca is an amazing cook. I mean,
I know.
off the charts, amazing cook. Uh-oh.
So now we have more visitors
all have
in
to
studio.
meet my wife, Rebecca.
Rebecca came in studio, and everybody's here to sing.
This is embarrassing.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Greg. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you all.
Yay. We
You have a
love
nice voice.
our legal
You're
analysts.
amazing, yes. Thank you very much, everyone. And thanks for saying hello to my wife, too.
So you even got a shout out in my Utah Policy newsletter, which I usually do for elected officials, but I did have to shout you out. My co-host on KSL Inside Sources, Greg Skordas, having a birthday today. So, a couple more questions that I have for you then, Rebecca. So is there a favorite spot that Greg has ever taken you on a date?
A favorite spot? I think it would have to be, I wouldn't call it a date, but we spend time in Torrey, and that's the thing that we like to do together. It's not really going to movies or restaurants, but we have a little place in Torrey just outside of Capitol Reef, and that's our romantic place.
It's a getaway. It really is.
That's our getaway.
Well, and part of it, I'm guessing on the drive down, you have plenty of opportunity to talk on the drive down and on the drive back.
We do. We have, and one thing I would say about Rebecca and I, we can sit in a car for 4 hours and talk and or not talk.
Yeah.
And there's it's very comfortable no matter what. It's like whatever's going on, you can just, and one thing that's also nice is since we're both attorneys, we can talk about
shop.
Like you and I have a lot in common,
Yeah.
Holly, with politics and things that are going on. Rebecca and I do too, because we can talk about legal issues. And I can ask her things like, "Hey, she has the greatest mind. She can think of things and
That's awesome.
put things in context."
We have a couple more comments from our texters, and one in all caps, I love this so much, ! And then Bo says, happy birthday, love the show. So I do have a fun fact also, and that's that I'm married to a Greg, but it's not Greg Skordas, it's Greg Richardson. And I had a friend I saw in the store the other day, and she's like, oh, people don't know that. I'm like, well, I don't know why, but it is funny that I have a Greg at home and a Greg at work, and I've only mistexted one time. So,
and you and I both share great relationships with our spouses.
We do.
I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you're married to your best friend, and I'm absolutely married to my best friend.
That's so awesome. All right, you can have the last word, Rebecca. You've got about 15 seconds.
It's my birthday, so what's going on? What are we gonna do? Where are we going to dinner tonight?
This is the surprise. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, my love. And here's to another 20 years.
Aw, I love it. Well, thanks, Greg Skordas, for
I'm the
being on
luckiest guy in the
KSL
world.
Inside Sources. We love having you here. And your legal expertise, of course, has been just well used for many years.
Now
long
you know
before
why.
we had this
now
show.
you know why. Right here.
All right. Thanks for joining us today on Inside Sources. Coming up next, Utah Noon News. Stay with us on KSL News Radio, and Maria Chaleos will take care of you.